A service of KIBMradio.com, the Internet's home for an all old-time radio.
And now, the life of Mary Sothern. There has been argument of the effect that if a woman were president of this country, she'd get things done. Now, we're not taking sides in any political issue, and of course, we've the masculine suspicion that another woman instigated the idea. But we still admit that when the gentler sex start out to do something, they generally do it. Phyllis, a young wife and mother, has been confined to a wheelchair for several months, and Mary Sothern feels keenly the suffering that must be going on in her heart. This unfortunate girl has a young husband and two small children, one an infant, the other a tot of 3. Every mother knows the priceless joy these baby years bring, and poor Phyllis is being cheated of this never-to-be-regained happiness. Well, a new week has started, a week in which Mary hopes to accomplish a great many things. As we open today's scene, we find Mary calling to Max.
Max? Oh, Max, dear, hurry up. Your breakfast is getting cold.
Yeah, I'll be in a second, Sis, but I can't find my tie.
Oh, there's one in your dresser drawer, dear.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, I found it. That was what I wanted. Hi, Toots. Hi.
Oh, hi, dear.
Oh, swell. Well, I guess I'll better have some breakfast, huh?
It's already.
Hey, Toots, look. Come here a second, will you? Look
What?
at me. There, out the window. Those two birds. See them? I think they're building a nest.
Oh, where?
There.
Oh, yes, I see. But birds don't build nests this time of year, darling.
Well, maybe these birds got different ideas. Huh? Hey, get a load of that, will you? He just kissed her. Boy, ain't that something?
Why, Max, you're very romantic this morning.
Yeah, you know. Oh, I had a swell dream last night. I guess that's why.
What'd you dream about?
Well, I thought that you and I were on a desert island.
Just a little one, Max?
Yeah, just big enough for the two.
And were we lying on a tiny stretch of white sand near the sea, looking into a deep blue sky as lovely and cloudless as that one out there?
Well, say, how did you know?
I've been there, darling.
Yeah?
The time you were away from me, I spent every night on that little island.
Oh, gee, that's honest.
It was awful, Max. I never want to be separated from you again.
Well, you're never going to be, Mary. You're never going to.
I hope not, dear. That's why I want to do something for Phyllis and Danny. They love each other just as much as we do, and they're separated in a way.
Yeah.
Poor Phyllis, tied down to her wheelchair. She can't go places with Danny or be with him the way she wants to. She's all alone on her desert island, Max.
Yeah, I know. It's tough on Sis over
Well, we can't just keep on saying it, Max. We must do something about it.
I'm all for more action and less talk myself, but, well, there ain't much we can do until somebody finds that Dr. Leroy.
It's Leroy, dear.
Oh, yeah.
And we better find him soon. Phyllis had an attack yesterday.
No kidding.
Pretty bad one. She blamed it on the rainy weather, but I believe it was more than that.
Yeah?
Yes, I think she's getting worse.
Well, look, we got to do something fast.
Well, I'm going over to the clinic to see John this morning. I wish you'd ask Mr. Barton if he's had any news about Dr. Leroy.
You can bet your boots I will. And if that payroll can help my sis, we're going to find him if I have to call out the Marines.
Anyone here? Oh, Nurse Miller. Dr. Benson. Oh, that's strange. No one in John's office.
Someone call?
Oh, hello, John.
Well, if I don't walk out of a chloroform-filled operating room and come face-to-face with a vision. Good morning, Mary.
You couldn't by any chance be still feeling the effects of that chloroform, could you, John?
If that's the case, I've been feeling it for a long time. Sit down, Mary. I've just been inside doing a bit of cross-stitching on little Johnny Feltenhammer.
Oh, the poor little chap. What happened to him?
No, he was practicing to be a tightrope walker and fell over the Barnfold Ridge.
Oh.
But I patched him up so he'll be as good as new.
Until the next time.
Yeah. That boy's my best customer.
He's such a little daredevil. Well, I'm scared stiff whenever Jimmy and Susan are playing.
I don't blame you. Make yourself comfortable. I'll be right with you as soon as I wash my hands.
All right, John. I do want to talk to you.
How's everything up at the house?
Oh, well, thank you. Max is so happy about the new factory, there's no holding him.
That's fine. Good to see the old scamp himself again. Max hasn't decided to place that order, has he?
What order, John?
Don't you remember? He said he was going to give me an order for the stork one of these days.
Oh, no, not that. It's about Phyllis.
Oh.
John, she isn't getting any better. Friday she had a very severe attack.
I wish I could tell you there was something I could do, but there's so very little, Mary.
I know. I suppose I sound like a foolish, stubborn woman, but I believe there's always something somebody can do. Of course, I don't mean you haven't done your best, John. It's wonderful the way you've looked after her. You didn't want to tell us, but I know we'd have lost her if it hadn't been for you.
She was close to leaving us when the baby was born. I did all I could. Doctor feels pretty helpless sometimes.
I don't think any doctor could have done more, but now with this spinal condition, you say she needs a specialist.
I thought at first a specialist might be able to help her. But now, well, you know how I feel.
Yes, I do. You haven't any confidence. Not even in Dr. DeRoy.
I have confidence in him, Mary. I believe if anyone could help her, he'd be the man.
Oh, if we could only look. It's the strangest thing. The man's just disappeared, and Mr. Barton hasn't been able to reach him.
Mr. Barton has gone to a great deal of trouble for Phyllis, hasn't he?
Yes, he's been very kind.
Did that ever strike you as being peculiar, Mary?
Why should it, John?
Well, Jeffrey Barton is one of the wealthiest industrial leaders of the country. He came to Santa strictly for business reasons, or so we assume. He suddenly became interested in a crippled girl as a total stranger to him. Doesn't it all sound, well, odd?
It does a little. Max and I have often mentioned it, but... Well, the only reason I can see is that he's a very human person.
Perhaps.
Come to think of it, John, why should we always question the fact when a person tries to do some good? Isn't that what we're put on earth for, to help each other?
Everyone doesn't feel the way you do, Mary. And especially people as important and influential as Jeffrey Barton.
I don't think a man's heart is measured by his purse strings, John. You can follow the golden rule, whether you're Jeffrey Barton millionaire or John Dokes, pauper.
That's true enough. And it should be simpler to follow that rule if you have wealth and influence.
I don't know if I'd even agree with that, John. Mr. Barton's wealth and influence haven't been very successful in bringing Dr. DeRoy.
No, I haven't been very successful in bringing Dr. DeRoy to Sanders, Max. I assure you I've done everything I could.
I guess you haven't, Barton. But it's funny how you disappeared.
Louis was always a temperamental person. I remember that night that... Well, I think perhaps that night is better forgotten.
Yeah, there's a couple of things that I feel better about forgetting, too. But let's see, you get in the dock here, and Mary says we got to do that quick.
Your sister had a relapse, eh?
Yeah, she's worse. Poor kid's been suffering plenty lately.
Poor John.
Yeah, come in.
Hello, Max.
Oh, hi, Tuss.
Oh, good afternoon, Mr. Barton. Am I disturbing some business?
Not at all, Mary. Come in.
Sure, sit down. Say, Tuss, you look tired.
Oh, I'm worried, I guess.
I can imagine. Max has been telling me Phyllis hasn't felt so well of late.
No, she hasn't, Mr. Barton. I don't know what Max told you, and perhaps I'm being presumptuous in speaking like this, but if Dr. DeRoy can do anything for Phyllis, we need him here now.
I know, my dear. Possibly you thought that because I'm busy with the factory, I've neglected trying to reach you.
Oh, I didn't mean to give that impression, Mr. Barton. You've been more than kind to have spoken to the doctor about Phyllis in the first place. After all, we are almost strangers to you.
Strangers in a sense, yes. But I'm a good deal more than the average bystander's interest in Phyllis's case. I imagine you wondered about that, too.
We felt you were a very kind person.
Yeah, but it seemed kind of funny at that.
I suppose it has. You see, I had a reason for my interest in Phyllis Stratford's case. A very personal reason. I wanted to be cured because it will help a little to compensate for something I can't talk about now, but something that once affected the most important thing in my life. most important thing in my life. What could be the most important thing in a man's life? Especially in the life of a man like Jeffrey Barton, a man who has wealth, influence, and position. It surely must have been something vital to have caused him to make such a statement.
Ladies and gentlemen, the story you are about to hear is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent. You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned to homicide detail. An elderly woman in your city has disappeared. There's no lead to where she's gone or why she left. Your job, find her.
It was Wednesday, July 14th. It was hot in Los Angeles. We were working the day watch out of homicide detail. My partner's Frank Smith. The boss is Captain Lorman. My name's Friday. We were on our way out from the office, and it was 9:47 a.m. when we got to 654 Kenmore Avenue.
Yes,
Miss Crocker?
it's Miss Crocker, but I'm her.
Police officer.
Oh, yeah, come here.
Thank you. It's my partner, Frank Smith. My name's Friday.
Oh,
How you doing, man?
Just sit down there on the couch. Move that Afghan. I was laying down when you got here. Terrible thing. I just know it.
Yes, ma'am. If you tell us about it, please.
You just bet I will. First off, can I get you something? Maybe a cup of coffee, a little piece of cinnamon toast?
No, thank you, ma'am.
Okay. You change your mind, you just let me know.
Yes, we will. Now, if you just tell us about Miss Gillespie, please.
I hope if anything ever happens to me, I get this kind of service.
Yes, ma'am. Are you a friend of Mrs. Gillespie?
Her best. That's why I know something's happened to her.
Uh-huh.
She wouldn't just take off like this without telling me. Matter of fact, she didn't tell nobody. Just all of a sudden, she was gone.
All right, if you'd start right at the beginning and just tell us the whole story, please.
Well, Bertha Gillespie and me been friends for years.
I see.
Her and me been friends for years, ever since her husband died and she opened up the tea cozy. That's the little tea shop she has.
Yeah.
Nice place. She's done real good with it. All the ladies in the neighborhood were down there for afternoon tea. Served those little tiny cake rolls with a pot of tea. Ladies' fingers, you know.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, a couple of days ago, I went down there to see Bertha.
You know what day that was? I said, do you know the exact date?
Oh, now, let's see. This is Wednesday. I guess it must have been Saturday. Yes, that's it, Saturday.
All right, would you like to go ahead, please?
Well, I went down to the tea cozy, and there was a sign right on the door telling how Bertha was sick and she'd gone away for a couple of days.
Was she in poor health?
Bertha?
Yes, ma'am.
Bertha was as strong as an ox. Nothing wrong with her. Besides that, I saw her only Friday night. She didn't say nothing to me about being sick, not a word.
I see.
That's what made me figure that there was something wrong. For the past 10 years, if there was anything on Bertha's mind, she told me about it. You just bet she did.
Well, isn't it possible that she just used the pretended illness as an excuse? That she just went away on a trip, maybe?
Oh, Bertha wouldn't do that.
Why do you say that?
Because she just wouldn't do it. Not with Saturday coming up. There isn't anything in the world that could make Bertha leave.
Well, what's happening Saturday?
Scrabble.
Beg pardon?
Scrabble. You know, the word game.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Well, the ladies in the neighborhood have a sort of club. We meet down at the cozy and play our tournaments. Bertha's the champion. Hasn't been anybody that can beat her real good. You know, not regular.
Yes, ma'am.
That's why she wouldn't leave. This Saturday was her first big match outside the club. Woman from West Los Angeles was coming out here to challenge her. Bertha's been in training all week. But she wouldn't just walk out on the match. I'm telling you, officers, there's something wrong.
Well, is Mrs. Gillespie any relatives here in Los Angeles?
No. No, she's got some people back east. Mississippi, I think.
Possible she might have left to go see them?
I told you. Not with the big match coming on. Ain't nothing in the world that could keep Bertha from playing in that. Nothing, and you believe it.
Yes, ma'am. Does she have any men friends?
Oh, you mean romantic?
Yes.
Well, there's Chester, but that's not what I'd call a real romance. Bertha'd go out to the movies with him once in a while. Maybe he'd come over to the tea cozy of an evening, and they'd sit there and watch the television,
But there'd always be somebody else there, mostly me. No, you couldn't say that it was any kind of a romance with Chester.
You have his address?
You going to talk to him?
Yes, we'll have.
It won't be any good. I already did. He don't know where Bertha is.
If you'll just give us the phone number of this Chester, we'll check on your friend.
Yeah, you check. You'll find out what I said is true.
Yes, ma'am.
I think somebody done Bertha in. She wouldn't just take off like this without telling me.
Well, now, ma'am, did she have any enemies in the neighborhood? Anybody that you think might want to do her harm?
No, not a soul, not a single one. Isn't anyone who didn't like her. Well, maybe Mrs. Ruman didn't care much for her, but I think that was kind of a jealous thing.
What do you mean?
Scrabble.
What was that?
Mrs. Ruman, Helen. She thought she could play the game. Then when she challenged Bertha to a match, it was pretty terrible. 4:57 to 2:14. Helen was pretty upset. She tried to make out like she was a good loser, kind of smiled and laughed. But I could tell. He didn't like being skunked.
Yes, ma'am. Can you think of any reason why anyone would want to harm Miss Gillespie?
Well, not right off unless it was for money.
What?
Last time I saw her, she was carrying a lot of cash money around with her.
Yeah.
$2,500.
10:33 a.m. We put in a call to missing persons detail and checked the name Bertha Gillespie through the file. There'd been no report filed on her, and her name did not appear in the Gaga file. We checked the name through R&I, but she had no criminal record in Los Angeles. 10:47 a.m. We drove by the Tea Cozy restaurant. On the front door, attached with cellophane tape, was a hand-lettered note reading, "Taking a short vacation. Watch for reopening." Through the glass pane, we could see the interior of the shop. Everything appeared to be in order. Frank and I checked the rear of the building, but from what we could see, there was nothing out of line. 11:28 a.m. We put in a call to the missing woman's boyfriend, Chester Avon. He told us that he'd talked to the Gillespie woman on the previous Friday night, and she'd appeared in good spirits and had said nothing about leaving. We checked at her bank. We found that she'd made a withdrawal from her savings account to the amount of $2,500. This left a balance of over $12,000 in the savings account, $6,000 in the checking account. The manager of the branch told us that he'd spoken with Mrs. Gillespie when she'd taken the money, and that she told him that she was thinking of taking a short vacation. We got in touch with Miss Crocker and told her what we'd found. We asked her if she wanted to file a missing persons report. She said that she'd wait until the end of the week, and if her friend hadn't returned by then, that she'd come into the office. A month passed before we heard from her again. On the morning of Friday, August 20th, she called to tell us that she still hadn't heard from Mrs. Gillespie and asked that we conduct a formal investigation. She came down to the office and filled out a Form 316. Frank and I drove out to the restaurant to check it again. It was exactly as it had been when we'd last seen it. We tried the doors and found that they were still locked. 1:43 p.m. We went back to the office.
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. Well, that's kind of high, isn't it? Yeah. Well, did your people check into it? I see. Well, thank you, Mr. Jones. If you find out anything, we'd appreciate it if you'd give us a call. Right. That's Michigan 5211, extension 2521. Yes, sir. Either Officer Frank Smith or Sergeant Joe Friday. That's right. Thanks for your help. Yes, indeed. Thank you. Goodbye. Well, that finishes up the utility calls.
Well, what do you got?
Telephone bill for the past 30 days is just the service charge, no toll calls. Same with the electric lights.
Uh-huh. They received payment in the last month, did they?
No. Telephone company says they haven't been paid in over 60 days. Says they've sent a couple of reminders.
Uh-huh.
Only reason they haven't cut off the service is the bills have always been paid promptly in the past. I checked with their business office. Girl tells me the bill usually runs around $10.
Possible, then, that the phone hasn't been used at all, huh?
Well, it shapes up that way. Same with the lights. The one thing doesn't match.
Yeah, what's that?
The water bill. I checked with them. Normal bill's about $4 for the place.
Yeah.
The last 60 days, it's been $79.
A lot of water, isn't it?
Yeah. I talked to one of the engineers at the company, a fellow named Jones.
Yeah, what'd he tell you?
Well, he told me there was only one thing that could cause a water jump like that.
Yeah.
A water tap.
Yeah.
Running for about a month.
2:06 p.m. We called the bank where Mrs. Gillespie had her accounts. The head cashier told us that since the date she'd withdrawn the $2,500, there'd been no deposits or withdrawals made. We telephoned the missing woman's friend, Mrs. Winifred Crocker. From her, we got the name and address of the owner of the building where the Tea Cozy restaurant was located. Frank and I signed out of the office and drove out to see him. The address we'd been given was a large house in the Silver Lake district. We rang the bell to the front door, but we got no answer. We walked around to the back of the property to a large garage.
Joe, if we find this guy, we can find out if she gave him some indication she was going to leave.
Yeah. Sounds like there's somebody there.
Yeah.
In here, I guess.
Uh-huh.
Yeah? We'd like to see Virgil Medina.
I'm him. What do you want?
Police officers. We'd like to check out a few things with you if we can.
What about?
Well, it might be easier if we talked inside.
I got no truck with the cops. I got none and I want none. Now you can just ask your questions from out there.
All right, sir. That's the way you want it.
Well, that's the way it's going to be. Now get your questions asked and go about your business.
You own a building located at 687 Kenmore Avenue?
Why?
Look, Mr. Medina, we're trying to conduct an investigation. We'd like to have your cooperation. If you don't want to talk here, we can go downtown.
I own the building. Why?
You have a tenant named Bertha Gillespie?
Yes. Why?
When did you see her last?
Well, about a month ago, at least that.
Do you remember the exact date?
I don't know. It's a long time ago. What's all this about Bertha anyway? What are all these questions? You got something you want to know about her? Go ask her yourself. Anything I can tell you that she can't, go talk to her. Leave me alone.
Where'd you see her last?
Down at the restaurant.
What time of day?
It was nighttime.
Would you try to remember what date it was? It's pretty important.
Wait a minute. I'll try to figure. See, I guess it must have been on a Saturday night. Yes, I'd say it was Saturday, the 10th of July.
Do you have any way of being sure that that's the date?
Now, look, you come around here asking questions, and I'm giving you an answer. You can take it or leave it. I got no way of being sure. That's the day I think I saw her last.
She seemed in good spirits?
What do you mean by that?
Well, sir, was she happy or was there something worrying her?
Well, she seemed happy to me. I didn't pay a lot of attention. What are you cops trying to find out? You come right out and tell me what you want, and maybe I'll have the answer. But I haven't got time to stand around and waste time with you. Now, you tell me why you're asking these questions, or you can leave.
Mrs. Gillespie's been reported missing. We're trying to trace it.
Well, who done that? Who says she's missing?
Well, that's not the important point here. We got the report. We've got to check it out.
Well, whoever told you that's crazy? If Bertha's gone, there's a good reason for it. I guess she just finally got fed up and left town.
What do you mean?
She made a mint of money from that place. Regular mint. She used to tell me that when she had enough, she was going to just take off and see the world. Go around the whole world on a tramp steamer. She told me when she signed the last lease that she thought this would be the last one. She ain't missing. She just gone.
Did she say anything to you about the fixtures in the place?
What do you mean?
Well, you know, the furniture, all the fixtures. They belong to her, don't they?
Yes, I guess so.
Will she make any arrangements to dispose of them?
Not to me, she didn't.
Wonder if you have a key to the place.
The tea cozy?
Yes, sir.
No, I don't.
You own the building and you don't have a key to the restaurant?
Well, no, I had one, but I lost it. Never had another one made. Why? What do you want with the key?
We want to check the premises.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, you got no right to do that. The place belongs to Mrs. Gillespie. You got no right to go tromping around in there.
Afraid we're going to have to.
Then you're going to do it without my say-so.
All right, sir. That's the way it's going to be.
I'm telling you, she ain't going to like it. She ain't going to like you going in the place when she isn't there.
Well, we take that up with her.
Well, you better, because I'm not going to take any responsibility for it.
We're not asking you to, Mr. Medina.
I'll give you this, though.
Yes, sir. What's that?
You go nosing around, you're liable to come up with something that you ain't looking for.
Well, thanks for your help, Mr. Medina.
Don't mention it. Just remember what I told you about finding trouble when you ain't looking for it.
Well, that doesn't happen often.
Huh?
We're looking for it. 3:14 p.m. Frank and I drove back to the Tea Cozy restaurant on Kenmore Avenue. We checked the front door of the place. It was locked. While Frank covered one side of the building, I took the other side, looking for open windows.
How about it?
No luck.
Me neither. What do we do now?
Well, we'll have to try to force one of the windows in the back.
All right.
Come on. I think maybe we can get in here.
You going to break it?
Well, we're going to have to.
Wait a minute, Joe.
Huh?
You hear water running? Sounds like it's coming from inside.
Yeah, it might be. Well, let's get in there.
You want my gun?
No, these are handcuffs. See if I can knock a hole in the top half of the window here.
Wait a minute. You better use your handkerchief.
Let me borrow yours.
Here.
All right. Now, look. There, that does it. I'll go in and open the door.
Yeah, I'll meet you out in front.
Right. Right?
Yeah, here.
Come on in.
See anything?
No, I haven't looked yet.
Well, Well, this must be the living room.
Yeah.
Everything looks okay here, a little dusty.
Water's running someplace. Wait a minute. Sounds like it's come from over there. Yeah. Better turn it off.
Yeah. Better call the crime lab, huh?
Yeah. Kind of a rough one, isn't it?
Yeah. Looks like she put up quite a fight. Bloodstains all over the place.
Yeah. Look here.
Huh?
I guess this is what killed her.
Yeah.
Butcher knife.
B.
From a picture and the description that we'd gotten from Winifred Crocker, we identified the victim as the missing woman, Bertha Gillespie. We put in a call for the crime lab. Lee Jones and his crew came out and went over the place. The rest of the restaurant seemed to be in order. There was no sign of a struggle of any kind except in the bathroom where the body had been found. The murder weapon, the butcher knife, was dusted for prints, as was the rest of the restaurant, but the partials that the crime lab came up with were worthless for classification. They would be sufficient, however, for comparison if we caught the killer. A search of the personal effects of the dead woman revealed no further information to aid us in apprehending her killer. The $2,500 that she was known to have had when she was last seen was missing. 6:21, the men from the crime lab finished their investigation on the scene, and the coroner's office was called. They came out and removed the body. They also locked the door and affixed the coroner's seal. 6:45 p.m. Frank and I got back to our car to go down to the office. All right, let's go, Frank.
Yeah.
Hey, wait a minute.
Hold it, Frank.
Huh? What's the little kid?
You guys the cops?
Yeah, son, what's the matter?
A lot of excitement around here, huh?
Yeah, that's right. Something we can do for you?
No, I figured maybe there's something I can do for you.
What do you mean?
You know who did the murder yet?
Well, why do you say it was a murder, son?
I know who did it.
Detective has learned by experience that approximately 60% of all homicides are solved within 20 minutes after the arrival of the authorities. Two things are necessary in establishing the identity of a killer: motive and opportunity. In the present instance, we had the motive. $2,500 that the dead woman had withdrawn from her account was missing. However, a month had passed between the time the actual murder had taken place and it had been discovered. Ample time for the killer to cover his tracks. Now, before we could leave the scene, we had a witness who stated that he could name the killer for us. We asked the boy to get into the back seat of the police car while Frank and I questioned him.
What's your name, son?
Gordon Eric. Kids always call me Gordy.
Uh-huh. How old are you?
7.
Now, what's all this about you being able to tell us who killed Mrs. Gillespie?
I can.
Well, who was it?
Mr. Medina.
You mean the man who owns the building?
Yeah, that's who I mean.
Well, that's a pretty serious charge, Gordon. Do you have any way to prove that?
I guess I really can't prove it, but I know it's true.
Well, how do you know?
I just know, that's all. I seen him there. I just seen him going in and out.
Well, when was this?
3 weeks ago. Maybe a month. But he used to go in and out all the time. Argue with Mrs. Gillespie.
What do you mean by argument?
Loud. Mr. Medina screamed at Mrs. Gillespie.
Will you ever hear any of these arguments, son?
Sure. My mother's a friend of Mr. Gillespie. We just live a couple blocks away on Dewey Street. I play over here all the time. I've heard Mr. Medina yell at her.
What'd they argue about, son?
Mostly about a lease or something. Seems like Mr. Medina wants Mrs. Gillespie to move out. She didn't want him. Made him pretty sore. You gotta talk to him. He'll tell you the same thing about how he used to fight with her.
All right, son. Your mother ever hear any of these fights?
Sure. You ask her. She'll tell you the same way just as I did.
Okay, is she home now?
Should be. Maybe she went out to the store or something. She should be home.
Okay, son. Let's go, Frank.
Yeah.
Guess this is about the most excitement we've had for a long time.
Yeah.
Poor old Mrs. Gillespie. Sure a nice old lady. Real nice.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't hardly anybody that didn't like her. Hardly anybody.
How about Mr. Medina? 7:04 p.m. We drove young Gordon Eric to his home and talked with his mother. She verified his story about the arguments between the victim and Medina. She went on to say that Medina had threatened Mrs. Gillespie, saying that if she wouldn't vacate the premises, he'd take care of her. We had their statements taken, and at 8:40 p.m. we went by Medina's house and asked him to accompany us downtown. Finally agreed, although he was sullen and uncooperative. When we got him down to the office, we checked his name through the record bureau, but we found that he had no criminal record in Los Angeles. His prints were rolled and sent to Holland Stahl for comparison with those found on the murder weapon. While we waited for the results, we talked to him in the squad room.
You're going to regret this, you know that.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, you're dragging me down here with all these questions. You just wait till my lawyers get here. You put a stop to all this foolishness.
You want to tell us what it's all about, Medina?
Tell you about what? How one of my tenants got himself killed? Now listen, I got property all over town, a lot of tenants. I worried about each one of them. I wouldn't have no time to do nothing else.
We understand you had some pretty big arguments with Mrs. Gillespie.
Who said that? Who told you that?
Is it true?
Why, it's a lie. You bring the person in here who said it, and I'll tell them it's a lie right to their face. You just bring them in here.
We can't do that, and you know it.
Well, of course you can. You know why? You want me to tell you?
Go ahead, you tell.
You can't show the person who said that because there ain't no such person. There's anybody in the world who says, I'll argue with Bertha.
Uh-huh.
You tried to get her to break her lease with you?
That's none of your business. I told you before, I'm not about to answer a lot of questions that aren't none of your concern.
A couple of things we better set you straight on, mister. You're a suspect in a murder. Now, if you're smart, you're going to realize that and give us some straight answers.
You just wait till my lawyer gets here. He'll take care of all this. He's going to fix you for taking my fingerprints. I still don't think you had any right to do that. No right at all.
Oh, yes. Homicide, Friday. Yeah, Harlan. How many? All right. Thank you. You want to tell us why you killed her, Medina?
What are you talking about?
That was our fingerprint man. They checked your prints against the ones we found on the murder night. They matched perfectly.
Oh. You sure, are they?
They're sure.
All right. I didn't mean to do it. I really didn't mean to, honestly. Just all of a sudden, I got so mad. I was standing there smiling. You should have known this. She had a way of smiling at you, and you knew that there wasn't anything that you could do. You just stand there smiling. I didn't mean to kill her, though. You got to believe that I didn't mean to kill her.
Want to tell us how it happened?
Have you got a cigarette?
Yeah.
There you go. Thanks.
Here's a match.
I had a chance to lease the place to some other people. More money. I tried to get her out.
Go ahead.
I tried to talk to her. I tried to get her to retire. She had enough money. She didn't ever have to worry. All I wanted to do was to get out. But she wouldn't. She said I'd signed a lease with her and she was going to keep it.
How much difference was there between what she was paying and what the new people were going to give you?
$50 a month.
You killed her for that?
Oh, yeah, you don't understand. You got to try. Now, really, this is important. If you knew Bertha, you'd know why I did it. You see, I went to her. I told her that I'd give her a lease on another piece of property. I'd give it to her at less money. I was trying to be fair. You can see that. I wanted to be fair.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that Saturday night, I decided to have it out with her. I went over to talk, tried to convince her. But she wouldn't listen. She just wouldn't listen. I tried everything to make her listen, but she wouldn't. She just stood there and told me that she had the lease and that she was going to keep it. She just stood there with that superior smile of hers, like she knew it all. Makes you want to hit her as hard as you could. If you knew her, you'd see what I mean. You'd see.
You take the money?
Yes. I don't know why I did that. Just all of a sudden, I got so mad at her, I picked up the knife, and I killed her. I didn't mean to, honest, I didn't. As soon as I saw her, I was sorry. I was real sorry.
Yeah. Did you turn that water on?
Well, I guess so. You see, I don't remember too good. I washed my hands after I'd killed her. I remember that. I guess I did leave the water on. I guess I did, yeah.
All right. Do you want to get the stenographer, Frank?
Sure.
Thanks.
You'd seen the way she thought she was so much better than anybody else, you know.
Is that right?
Sure. All those old hens clucking around all the time, building her up, making her feel superior, real superior.
Mm-hmm.
If she just moved out, if she just let me have the place, it all would have been all right. If she'd just done that. That's a lot of money, you know. $50 a month. That's what I stood to make on the deal.
Yeah.
It was worth it, don't you think? $50 a month without turning a hand? Everybody'd figured that way, wouldn't they? Well, everybody thinks so.
Now, when you get where you're going, you can ask him.
The story you have just heard is true. The names were changed to protect the innocent.
On November 10th, trial was held in Department 97, Superior Court of the State of California, in and for the County of Los Angeles. Virgil Emil Medina was tried and convicted of murder in the second degree and received sentence as prescribed by law. Murder in the second degree is punishable by imprisonment in the state penitentiary for a period of from 5 years to life.
Ladies and gentlemen, the American Broadcasting Company brings to its entire network one of radio's most unusual programs. Pat Novak For Hire.
Sure. I'm Pat Novak. For hire.
That's what the sign out in front of my office says. Pat Novak For Hire. You gotta put it in block letters because down on the waterfront in San Francisco, there's a price tag on everything. You gotta do that or marry a rich widow. I don't like to work that hard, so I rent boats and do anything else that's cash and carry. Oh, it's all right if you don't mind trouble, because that's one thing you can't duck. It's like trying to dance the minuet in skis, and the best trouble always looks good from the outside. You're all smiles and feel like a kid opening a hand grenade under the Christmas tree. I found that out Tuesday night. It was around 7 o'clock. I was getting ready to close the office when this little guy showed up. He was about the size of a golf bag with arms. And if he had a cigar box, he could see over a pool table. He walked up to the desk and started talking in a voice that made you think he was trying to put Lily Pons out of work.
Hello, you Novak?
You're doing all right so far. What's on your mind?
I'm Jackie Gregg. You heard of me, huh?
You're the shy type, I know.
I'm Jackie Gregg, the jockey. You heard of me, huh?
All right, now I heard of you. Put the show on the road.
I'm looking for a horse. You want to find me a horse?
Yeah, I breed him in the back room. What color do you want?
You're so tough I got to take that from you?
Calm down before you wind up in a boys' choir. If you got anything to sell, put it on the line or beat it.
I'm riding a horse tomorrow called Fleet Lady. She's disappeared.
She's not here.
I'm supposed to ride the 6th race with her tomorrow, the Bonanza Handicap, and she's gone.
All right, she's gone. Maybe your horse likes to go out at night. I haven't seen her. Get to the point.
I'll give you $200 to find that horse. Somebody took her in a van. I trailed her down here at the waterfront.
But you lost him up at the ferry building.
That's right. Something funny's going on. My mount disappeared, and you gotta find her.
This is a big waterfront, and where's the $200?
You'll get that all right. Down by Pier 19. The van turned in. Think you can find Fleet Lady?
I don't know. Who owns her?
Woman named Sybil Thornton. She's, mixed up, I think.
Yeah. Why steal your own horse?
I don't know. Run a ringer, maybe.
That's a tough trick.
This woman's got some good ones. You want the $200?
Yeah. How are the odds?
What's the difference? You're gonna open a book? You better take the $200 now.
Yeah, the dough will keep. You sound frightened, Junior.
And you sound nosy. Here's the $200. I want you to find the horse. You let me know at the Kingston Hotel, huh?
Sure.
And if you don't find anything around the waterfront, maybe you better try the track. Ask around there.
Yeah. By the way, how do you fit in? How come you got $200 interest in that horse?
Maybe I love horses. What do you care if maybe I love horses?
I don't. A guy like you's got to love something. Oh, yeah, it was a sweet proposition. A jockey in search of a horse. There's something phony about the whole thing. I had the $200, but I didn't feel good. It was like a guy stealing a murder gun to help out in a scrap metal drive. Well, after the little guy left, I closed the office and started to hit the docks, but it didn't work out. You know, you can buy good whiskey these days, so you feel funny walking up to some guy on the pier and asking, have you seen a racehorse around here, mister? By 9, I was sure the horse wasn't around, so I borrowed a car and drove out to the track. I found out where Sybil Thornton's horses were quartered and headed down that way. It was pretty dark, so when I bumped into her, all I got was a vague outline. She had a good-looking vague outline.
Oh, I'm very sorry.
Yeah, I'm full of regrets, too. Shall we try it again?
But you're a little mixed up in your animals. They keep horses here.
You don't seem to mind.
No, you lean nicely, but you'd probably feel safer with a platform.
Yeah. Well, we try this again when I've had 3 good meals. That's a horse.
Yes, I know. In fact, I own her.
I see. That'd make you Sybil Thornton.
Yes, what would it make you?
A guy named Pat Novak looking for your horse. I was hired in the waterfront to find her.
Why, they grow big on the waterfront. You must get a lot of sun. By the way, is Fleet Lady missing?
Your jockey says she is. That's why I'm snooping around.
Didn't know he had any friends.
She's got a checkbook. How about Fleet Lady? Is she tucked in bed?
Yes.
Well, let's take a look, huh?
Find it very dull, Mr. Novak.
Yeah, that's what they said to Anthony. Let's see the horse.
Suit yourself. She's down this way.
Okay.
I'm doing this out of the bigness of my heart. I think you're wasting my generosity, Mr. Novak.
I don't use it all this trip.
It's from the stable. Come on. Down about here. Fleet Lady's stall. Here. The flashlight on the wall.
All right.
Oh, poor thing.
Do horses die broke, too? Who is it? Fleet Lady?
Yes. Are you satisfied?
No, I'm going to ring up headquarters.
You crazy.
Then I'm going to call Jackie Gregg and tell him his hunch paid off.
I wouldn't do that, Mr. Novak.
Stop kidding me, sweetheart. She didn't get killed in a fight with another horse. Gregg figured somebody was tilting the machine. That's why Fleet Lady's dead. That's why I'm going to call headquarters.
Suit yourself, but remember what happened to Fleet Lady.
You getting tough, Angel?
No. You just wouldn't look good with a saddle, Mr. Novak.
Well, I watched her as she turned and walked out of there. It was the kind of a walk that makes you flip the calendar and find out how far away spring is. I looked around a while, but it didn't do any good. The place was full of doors, so whoever killed Fleet Lady got out easy, like a rumor at a church picnic. I closed the door and went down the line to call headquarters. As I stood in there talking, I saw Sybil Thornton drive away. It was a long convertible with red asbestos seat covers. After I called headquarters, I went back and waited near the stable. About a half hour later, a police car pulled up, and when I saw who got out, I began to get unhappy like a 3-legged man in a ballet school. It was Hellman from Homicide, and he had a squad with him.
All right, I'll talk to him. Hello, Novak. Where's your trainer?
Your boys get paid to laugh at you, Hellman. I don't.
Yeah, where's the horse?
What are you doing on the case?
I came for the ride. You mind, Novak?
No, I just wondered if they wised up downtown.
Yeah?
Because you could find a dead horse, Hellman. If they staked it out in the middle of Market Street, you'd find it before long.
I'll try this time. Where is it?
Stall 18 over there.
Keep an eye on him, boys. I'll be back in a minute. In here, Novak?
Yeah, the one with the teeth like yours.
You better shut up, Novak.
Don't get jumpy. You haven't seen the horse.
Just shut up, huh?
It wasn't going to be much of a conversation anyway.
What color horse was that, Novak?
What do you mean? Take a look at it.
Yeah, I did. I just took a look. It's a smart horse, Novak.
What?
That's right. That dead horse in there is wearing a double-breasted suit.
Hellman got the message straight. I walked in and took a look. Jackie Gregg was lying there on the floor as dead as last year's love. The sickness didn't show until we rolled him over on his stomach. Somebody had gone duck hunting in the middle of his back. I began to feel a little sick myself, and I was ready to send up for the same gun when Hellman started to talk.
You forgot to mention the guy when you phoned headquarters.
He wasn't there. I was in here before, and the guy wasn't around.
What was he doing under the horse?
I don't know. Hellman maybe crawled out of a crack. I don't know. There were 2 shots. I came in and found the horse.
Yeah?
Check the horse.
You're trying to tell me the horse shot back? Who is he?
A guy by the name of Jackie Gregg. He gave me $200 to find a missing horse.
Yeah?
A horse called Fleet Lady running in tomorrow's handicap. This is the end of the line.
How do you know it's the same one?
I don't. Maybe you got to be a horse to tell. Why don't you ask one of your boys? Yeah, your boy's real tough. Call him off, Hellman.
He's nasty. We all hate him, Novak.
It's all right. I'll put it on your bill, Hellman.
That's good. You can write it up at headquarters.
Hellman, you ought to rent an idiot. The heavy thinking's too much for you.
I can piece this together. We come out here and find a dead man with you kicking up dust 40 feet away.
Look, Hellman, I didn't kill the guy and call up headquarters. I know they're bad in homicide, but I'm not that big-hearted.
We got a spare hook for you, Novak. That's where you stay until somebody gets you off.
And you can start out with Sybil Thornton.
Another horse?
She's got the speed for it. Look her up. She owns Fleet Lady, and she was dashing around in the dark here playing easy to get.
I'll look her up.
You better leave the boys behind, after all. She's only a woman. When you see her, ask her about that van down on the waterfront and what she was doing before I made that phone call.
I'll tag all the bases. Don't worry, Junior. And if things fit together, you'll both be in the jug. I'll see you later. I got work to do.
Yeah, it's getting late. You better put the boys back in the cage. I began to worry after Hellman left. There was no murder gun, and he didn't have too much to go on, but there was no one else wanted my job. Oh, I knew the girl was going to have an alibi. I was the last guy that Jackie Gregg had seen. I had about as much chance as a fat girl at a Princeton prom. Hellman didn't like me, and he was a smart cop with a disposition like a ton of rhubarb. Well, I had to start right from scratch. I felt like Adam the first morning he woke up. So I looked up a guy named Jocko Madigan, an ex-doctor and a boozer who would give you a lift if you show him where the stirrups are. Oh, he's a good guy, but he thinks all food makes a gurgle. I hit all the bars and finally found him up at Maggie Nielsen's apartment. She's a good-looking voice that lives up on the hill, and Jocko was working his way into her liquor supply.
Hello, Patsy. You're just in time to join me for my first drink of the evening, or one of my first, at least.
Yeah, I see.
Maggie's not here, but I found her whiskey. It was in plain sight, locked in the closet under some newspapers.
All right, Jocko, when are you going to sober up?
Oh, I plan to do it briefly on April 1st, when the rest of the world plays the fool also.
Look, I'm in trouble, Jocko. You got to help me.
Good. I've a special bottle I use to forget your troubles.
Now, look, stop caressing that jug and listen to me. I'm in a jam.
Patsy, there's nothing in nature so sad as a half-empty bottle. It's like a broken vow or an unfulfilled promise in the skies, a falling star almost.
All right, Jocko.
A falling star, and you shrug it off, never realizing that a whole world is ended at that moment.
Yeah.
100 million dreams, maybe, and you watch it fall and make an asinine wish. That's all the good it does a star to fall. It gives some kid a chance to wish for a bicycle.
You all finished now, Jocko?
Yes. What kind of trouble? Anything I could aggravate?
I'm mixed up out at the track. A guy by the name of Jackie Gregg is dead, and I don't look good.
Oh, Hellman?
Yeah. The guy's a jockey, and he hired me to find a horse named Fleet Lady.
Did you?
The horse and the jockey ran a dead heat, but there's something funny about the whole deal.
Did you talk to the jockey?
No, not enough.
Oh, Patsy, you've got to break yourself of the habit of waiting until people are dead before you think of a question.
Jocko, I want you to hit all the horse rooms. Find out what you can about the 6th race tomorrow. It's the Bonanza Handicap. Now, hurry up, will you?
If it's the 6th race, why can't we wait a while?
Start now. Get everything you can and call me. I'll leave a message at your place.
Where are you going?
I don't know. Maybe up to see the girl.
Oh, Patsy, you're going to be waving at the hangman's wife when they spring the trap door.
I gotta see her. She owns Fleet Lady.
Well, why don't I see her?
She's got a stake somewhere, and I got a lot of questions. What could you do up there?
Ah, yes. If it weren't an academic question, I'd argue the point.
Oh, it looked like a bum deal right from the start.
Patsy, you have the instinct for recognizing trouble, but not the intelligence to duck it.
Save your breath, will you?
You're like a man walking under a scaffold on a building. You realize it may crash down and kill you, but instead of hugging the building where you can't get hurt, like every other dope, you scurry for the edge of the sidewalk where you're bound to get hit if it falls.
Jocko, will you get out to those horse parlors? I need facts, not fables. Now, give me a hand.
All right. Give my love to Fleet Lady.
Her name's Sybil Thornton.
I'll bet I'm not far wrong. Good night, lover.
After I left Jocko, I went to the Chronicle morgue and looked up the NBC program director, Paul Stengel. We pulled out the clips on Sybil Thornton. They were nice and fat because she'd been to Reno 4 times and hadn't broke training for years. She'd been traded around more than a Red Sox pitcher. The clipping said she was 32. Well, there were a lot of pictures. And from her eyes, you got the idea she was around 35. But there were arguments the other way, too. Well, there weren't any stories on her for the last few months, just a few items from the columns. They all said the same thing. She was hitting the night spots with a gambler named Rudy Hauser. There were pictures of him, too. Now, he would have looked good in a cave with heavy curtains. I asked Paul. He said Hauser had a gambling place out on Geary, so I took a cab out there. For $10, the guy at the door said Sybil Thornton had left the place an hour ago. That made me feel good. When Hauser opened the door to his office, I lost the glow.
Yeah? What's with you?
I got a problem.
You got the wrong door.
Well, you can't get any tougher, so I'm coming in.
Suit yourself. I never throw anybody out until I'm sure they've lost all their money. What's on your mind?
A horse named Fleet Lady. She disappeared at 7 o'clock tonight.
You checked under the rug. I'll try the cabin.
She got back just in time to greet somebody's gunsel.
If I say no, will you go out and lose your money like a good boy?
Fleet Lady was owned by a gal named Sybil Thornton. The columns say you're number 5 on her list.
Well, they never lie. The whiskey's too good.
Also, a little bird says she was in your office an hour ago.
That's right. She said your name's Novak.
Yeah.
Next time you got a bombshell, give it a test run.
With Fleet Lady dead, your money's going to look real good in the 6 tomorrow.
Well, it makes you think the gal would throw a race.
For the same reason she goes out with you?
Huh?
When a gal takes a Great Dane like you out in public, it generally means the guy's a few bucks ahead of her.
You want to fight the team now, Novak? And just remember, sometimes you can't be right and a gentleman, too.
Yeah. I hope that's the way you feel when they pick you up for Jackie Gregg's murder.
Huh?
Oh, you do a real nice double take, mister. The jockey checked out with a horse.
I didn't know that, Novak.
Yeah, with no brains, you built this gambling club.
I didn't know he was dead. If I told you that, Novak, I meant it. It was all right for a little punk. I'm sorry he's dead.
So's he. I'll see you later, Hauser. I got to nose around and find out where you were tonight.
Yeah. You seem all right, Novak. So I'll tell you. If you got any dough left when you leave my tables, bet it on a horse named Fleet Lady in the 6th race tomorrow.
Do you always bet on a dead horse?
You got the tip. Use it or bury it, but don't loan it out.
Oh, the case was a regular grab bag when I walked out of Hauser's office. I began to tick off the things that didn't add up. First on the list was that van down on the waterfront. If it was Fleet Lady, who got shot in the stable? If it was the ringer, that meant Fleet Lady would run tomorrow. Oh, I couldn't figure out why Hauser was so sure she'd win. An idea kept racing around the back of my mind like an ant in a cookie factory. Jackie Gregg lied about that van down on the waterfront, but why? Not to bail me out of the poorhouse with $200. Oh, I got part of the answer when I stopped with the pay telephone and called Hellman.
Yeah, Hellman talking.
This is Novak. I got some news.
You'll have to put it on the back page.
What do you got?
Your friend Jackie Gray had some love life.
Well, there's a chance for you, Hellman. Who's the girl, Sybil Thornton?
Yeah, we found her picture in his wallet, the gooey kind.
I bet you stole it for long train rides. What time did he die?
The right fit for you, between 9 and 10 o'clock. 2 shots from a .32 caliber pistol.
How about the horse?
45 caliber.
2 people. It's getting involved.
Maybe, maybe not. You got 2 hands, Novak.
Look up a guy named Rudy Hauser. He's got a joint out on Geary Street.
I got enough friends. You look him up.
I did. He's still talking about Fleet Lady and tomorrow's race.
All right, maybe he's sentimental. Look, Novak, I'll pick out my own work. I don't need free help from you. Jackie Gregg paid $200 and look what he got.
That suits yourself, but Rudy Hauser and that gal are close friends.
Yeah?
Like 2-part harmony in a telephone booth. Get off the dime, Hellman. Hauser's got that gal in his hip pocket. She owns Fleet Lady, and he's betting her to win.
You're trying hard, Novak.
It's got to be a slow field to lose to a dead horse. Wake up, Hellman. You couldn't smell a rat in a basement full of cheese.
I did all right in your apartment.
Huh?
That .32 caliber pistol, we found it in your place. See you later.
Well, I wasn't too worried about that. Hellman's smart enough to know a phony plant. I began to think about that .32 caliber pistol. It's a woman's weapon. Well, that doesn't prove anything. So's a bread knife if she's in a bad mood. Must have been about midnight when I got to Sybil Thornton's place. She was wearing black lounging pajamas tied tight around a slim waist. She looked like a wasp with a nice sting, and she had company.
Come in, Mr. Novak.
Yeah?
Mr. Novak, this is Ronnie Stark.
Hello, Novak.
Yeah.
Well, he's not very friendly, Sybil.
He's just parting because they're going to arrest him for Jackie's murder.
How do you like Hellman?
You've known him longer.
Yeah. Somebody left the murder gun up at my place. Where you been all night?
Please, Mr. Novak, you're embarrassing Ronnie.
That's right. I'm blushing, and it's not the whiskey, Novak.
I see.
You must stay longer, Ronnie.
She's persuasive, huh, Novak? See you tomorrow.
You won't forget, Ronnie.
Oh, I won't forget. I'm betting on you, Novak.
What won't he forget?
Mr. Novak, I hope nobody ever asks you that question.
You don't want to talk about putting that gun in my apartment?
No.
Let's talk about Rudy Hauser, then. Your meat grinder friend. We just had a good talk, and he opened up a new road.
What'd you tell him?
Don't break a spring. He's all right.
Will you do me a favor, Patsy?
Like not talking to Hauser anymore? Huh?
That's right. Won't do you any good, Patsy. It'll do me a lot of good.
How's he going to know which horse got killed? I'll bet you lied to him, Angel.
It's my apricot, Patsy. Leave it alone.
Sure. But play your hand right, baby. Because I'm going to watch your cards. And if you got one that says Jackie Gregg, I'm going to call you the hard way.
Patsy, you nice beast. I really think you would. Sit down.
Yeah.
A drink?
No.
Do you good.
Not right now.
Well, you've read the book.
Just a couple of chapters.
I bet they're the right ones.
You better watch out, baby. I may be a long shot.
Well, you care as long as I bet.
I don't.
That's good. I didn't think you'd mind.
Aren't you beginning to crowd the beachhead?
Don't be a sissy, Patsy. You can't live forever.
All right, Angel. It's time to wire the folks.
Mr. Novak, just wait until you know me better.
That's for me. I left the number.
It's your fault, then.
Yeah.
Hello, Patsy.
What'd you find out, Jocko?
Not much. Nobody seems to care about the sixth race.
I care about it.
Oh, that's because you killed one of the jockeys. The rest of the people have a more casual interest.
How do the odds run?
Oh, no heavy favorites. Thin Air and Sleepy Time Gal figure to be the best at around 5 to 1.
What about Fleet Lady?
Down the line somewhere. I talked to one fellow. He says she's a dog and couldn't beat a paralytic goose over 100 yards.
Yeah, what else?
Well, that's all.
What do you mean, that's all? Start digging, Jocko. We're not getting any place.
Not even at your end?
Huh?
Well, I counted on you to do better than that. Good night, lover.
On the way home, I bought the morning papers. There was no story on Jackie Gregg, no details, and most of the story was a statement by Hellman on Hellman. There was no mention of Fleet Lady, and at 1 o'clock in the morning, there was nothing I could do but roll into bed. I woke up about 9, called Jocko. It was like sending a message out to the Farallones by Indian Runner. He just muttered and said he'd meet me out at the track. Well, I had to have some more dope, so I called Ira Snow. He calls the races and bets on them. The way he does it, a horse is a real beast of burden. He was playing elf when I got him on the wire.
Yeah?
Ira, this is Novak. What do you know about the Bonanza handicap?
It's a horse race.
Oh, you're funny. What about the field? Are the horses any good?
For hamburgers, maybe. Nothing else.
How about Fleet Lady?
Eastern track. Nobody knows.
Would she be worth a heavy plunge?
Yeah, if you want to be a monk. What's this all about?
Ira, I'm in trouble. How about a fix? Could they run a ringer in on Fleet Lady?
Yeah, it's been done before, but it ain't easy.
That's what I figured. How's Rudy Hauser on horses?
He ain't. He got burned a long time ago. He never bets.
Well, I think you're wrong.
Look, Novak, I know every guy in town that's got the itch. Rudy Hauser, no.
You know a guy named Ronnie Stark?
Sure, he runs a book. Why?
Nothing. May see you at the track. I'm going to make a bet.
Yeah, I'll tell the horses.
Well, that left me in a hole. If Ira was right, Rudy Hauser on Fleet Lady didn't make a bit of sense. I got out to the track about 2:30. Jocko was there, and Hellman was wandering around up in the grandstand where they couldn't push him into a starting gate. Sybil Thornton waved from her box as I walked by to get a better shot at the starting line for the 6th. They were almost at the post when Jocko came back from the betting window.
Well, Patsy, I bet $2 on a horse called Scotch Victory. It seemed like a good omen.
Yeah.
I saw your friend Rudy Hauser at the window.
Huh?
He was pouring money down on the favorites to win.
Well, that's why the odds have gone down on Vin Air and Sleepy Time Gal. Look at that board, will you?
Yeah, Fleet Lady's gone all the way up to 12 to 1.
Yeah, from 8 to 1. All the way up.
Maybe the word got around she's dead.
No, that's the funny part. She's down there. See, number 3 on the rail. Not a peep out of anybody.
Is going to the front by 1 length. Sleepy Time Gal by a head. Fleet Lady between horses is running third by 1 length. On the outside, it's Vin Air and Old Soldier. Going into the clubhouse turn, it's Hot Weather by 2 lengths. Sleepy Time Gal by a half length. Fleet Lady is moving up on the outside. It's Vin Air fourth by 1 length. And Old Soldier. Down the back stretch, it's Hot Weather by 2 lengths. Fleet Lady, moving up on the outside, is now second by 1 length.
She runs well for a ghost.
Yeah.
Rudy Hauser'd better hurry up or he won't see much.
What?
He better hurry. He left the track 10 minutes ago.
Huh? Are you sure, Jocko?
Yes, I heard him tell someone he had to make a phone call just before the betting closed.
Well, Jocko, you're a sweetheart.
Oh, I like to think.
Come on, let's go to that stable.
The race isn't over.
It was over 5 minutes ago.
Well, how about my $2?
Come on, will you? There's only one person who won't try to fix a horse race. That's a horse. Well, I knew there was going to be trouble fast. The horses were just coming under the wire when I waved to Hellman and started for the stable. When we got there, Sybil Thornton was clearing out like a fire sale.
I'm in a hurry, Patsy, darling. Let me by.
Now, you made a bad play, Angel. Stick around.
Let me by, Patsy.
You heard him, lady. Stick around. Thanks, Copper. I'll take charge.
That's a big gun, Hauser.
I got a big beef. You let me drop $100,000, Sybil.
It's your idea, Rudy.
Not this way. You let me drop $100,000 because you ran Fleet Lady.
The program said Fleet Lady, and that's who ran.
I brought those odds into line at the window. My other 80 looked bad on Fleet Lady. You didn't stay to watch her trail the field.
All right, I didn't stay. You lost your $100,000. You killed the ringer. You were a smart big shot who was going to sew up the race.
You ran Fleet Lady and cost me $100,000. All right, Cop, I'll move away from her. Over this way, Sybil.
No. Don't let him do it, Patsy.
I want to see how tough you are.
Come on, Sybil. Let's you and me move against the stall.
Watch out, Hauser.
You're backing into the horse. Grab the horse, Novak. He's going to trample him.
You grab him. It's your idea.
Dan.
Yeah. You should have learned the first time you can't beat the horses.
That's a bum joke, Novak.
I guess it is.
Now that we're all here, who do we book for Jackie Gregg's murder?
I'll answer that, friend.
Who's this guy?
It's one you missed, Hellman. Hello, Stark.
Hiya, Novak. Well, what are you waiting for, Sybil? Tell the man you killed Jackie Gregg.
Had enough trouble today, Ronnie.
Now, you got more coming. Well, you figured it out yet, Novak?
Hauser dumped his $80,000 on you.
That's right. It's a lot of spending money.
Wait a minute. Ronnie, I don't like this.
Well, you get your half, baby. I'm going to write out an IOU. When they book you for murder and the vote's in, you can't use it.
You wouldn't do a thing like that, Ronnie.
A dead girl can't spend $40,000. She killed your guy, Copper, and tried to palm it off on Novak. I was there, so I'll testify.
Ronnie, you're a no good guy.
Ah, don't be silly. I love justice. A booker for murder, Copper. I want to tear up that IOU.
Well, Hellman finally worked it out. Started out as a fixed race, and when they were all through, it was up to the horse. Rudy Hauser put the squeeze on Sybil for some dough. She offered to run a fast ringer in place of Fleet Lady, so Hauser could pick up a bag full. Rudy just wanted to make sure, so he sent one of his boys around to knock off Fleet Lady. Only the guy killed the ringer instead. Well, that was a break for Sybil. She made a deal with a bookie named Ronnie Stark to take all of Hauser's bets and guarantee him that Fleet Lady couldn't win because she wasn't that good a horse. It panned out that way. She let Hauser think Fleet Lady was dead. He spent the $20,000 at the window pushing up the odds on Fleet Lady and dumped another 80 on her to win. The moving van? Well, that was a phony story Gregg used to get me to scare Sybil. He wanted in on the deal. He went back to the stable that night, got in a beef, and she killed him. She had him out in her car. When I went to make that phone call, she figured it was a good way to pass the buck. Well, Hellman asked only one question. Why would a nice, tame horse go crazy and trample a guy to death? Jocko had the answer. The horse that killed Hauser was a filly.
Broadcasting Company has just brought you the fourth of a new series, Pat Novak For Hire, starring Jack Webb. Pat Novak is produced and directed by William P. Rousseau. Jocko Madigan is played by Tudor Owen. Inspector Hellman is played by Raymond Burr. Music was composed and conducted by Basil Adlam. In our cast were Virginia Gregg, Tal Avery, Stacey Harris, Hugh Thomas, and Carlisle Bibbers. This program is being released to our servicemen and women overseas through the worldwide facilities of the Armed Forces Radio Service. Be with us again next week when over most of these same ABC stations we will bring you Pat Novak For Hire. This program came to you from Hollywood. Now, a listening reminder. Tonight, don't miss Jane Wyman when she guest stars and explains how she created her unforgettable role as the deaf-mute in Johnny Belinda. Hear Jane Wyman tonight on this ABC station. This is ABC, the national broadcasting company.
Ladies and gentlemen, the story you are about to hear is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Dragnet is brought to you by Chesterfield, made by Liggett & Myers, first major tobacco company to give you a complete line of quality cigarettes.
You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned to burglary detail. You get a call that a clothing store in Hollywood is suffering losses. The value of the stolen property is over $12,000. There's no lead to the identity of the thief. No pattern to his M.O. Your job, get him. Today, you hear these three words everywhere. Chesterfield's for me. The cigarette tested and approved by 30 years of scientific tobacco research. Chesterfield's for me. The cigarette with a proven good record with smokers. And first cigarette to have such a record. Chesterfield's for me. Chesterfield gives you proof of highest quality, low nicotine. The taste you want, the mildness you want. The Chesterfield you smoke today is the best cigarette ever made. And best for you.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Wednesday, June 3rd. It was hot in Los Angeles. We were working the day watch out of burglary detail. My partner's Frank Smith. The boss is Captain Bernard. My name's Friday. We were on our way out from the office, and it was 9:56 a.m. when we got to 1592 Vine Street. Dodd's men's store. Excuse me?
Yeah?
Wonder if you can tell us where we can find Leonard Dodds?
Yeah, that's him, fellow back there in the blue suit.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, I don't know how it happened, honey. No, I just came in this morning and I noticed the stuff was gone. Well, a whole shipment of suede coats. Haven't even been unpacked yet. Yeah, about 24 of them. Were white with a button-down collar. Yeah, I called the cops and the insurance company. Yep. Well, about 12,000. Well, a couple of customers just came in, honey. I'll call you back. Yep. Well, don't worry about it. Goodbye. Yes, sir? Can I help you, gentlemen?
Mr. Dodds?
That's right.
Police officers. This is Frank Smith. My name's Friday.
How do you do,
sir? You reported a burglary this morning?
Yeah, you guys from Hollywood?
No, sir. We're out of Central.
I didn't think I'd seen you around here before.
You want to tell us what happened?
Yeah. Come on back to the storeroom.
When did you first discover the theft?
Well, this morning when I came in, I went back here to unpack some new merchandise, and I found most of it gone. Here, I'll get the door. Now, this is our storeroom. When we get a shipment from the east, the cases are kept here until we get a chance to unpack them and check the invoices.
I see. Was all of the stolen merchandise taken from this room?
I'm not sure about that. I do know that a shipment of suede jackets and waistcoats was in here. It's gone now. A couple of cases of shirts, too. The only way I'd have of knowing if they took anything from out in the store itself would be to make a complete inventory.
Mm-hmm. What do you estimate the loss at?
$12,000.
When was the last time you saw the merchandise in here?
Yesterday afternoon.
About what time?
Well, I'd have to guess at that. I'd say about 3 or 3:30.
How many doors are there to the store here?
Just the front one. One in the back. Opens into an alley.
What if we could see the rear door?
Sure. Back this way. One of the first things I thought of, too, but it was locked.
You opened the door this morning, did you?
Yes, I found the stuff gone, then I checked the door. It was still locked.
Uh-huh. You have an alarm system in the store?
Yes, it didn't go off last night, so.
I see.
Here's the door. You can see for yourself there's nothing wrong with the lock.
How about it, Joe? No, there's no signs of it, Jimmy.
Well, that's what I thought, too. I looked pretty close. Couldn't see any sign of where they got in.
How about windows? Possible they got in through a window?
No, I'm sure of that. Only two we've got are in the tailor shop. Here. You can see them up there. Good 10 feet and barred. They couldn't have gotten in there.
All right, we'll have our crime lab take a look. Who has keys to the place?
Well, I've got one.
Yes, sir, but who else?
Well, they're just me and Al.
Al?
Yeah, Al Baker. He's sort of the assistant manager. Whenever I'm not around, he takes charge of things.
Can we see him?
Well, you can when he comes in. Listen, I don't want you to give him any trouble. I trust him with anything at all. I don't want you asking him a lot of embarrassing questions.
All right, sir. How long has he worked for you?
Oh, I guess it's been about 5 years. I don't think I could run the place without him. Sure wouldn't want to try.
I see. Besides this Baker, how many people do you have working for you in the store?
3 others full-time. During rush periods, I call in extra help.
Can you give us a list of their names?
Yes. But you can be sure of one thing.
What's that?
Isn't anybody who works at the store did this.
You seem pretty sure about that.
Well, I know my people. All of them have been with me for a couple of years. I trust them all.
I noticed that you're doing some remodeling here. How about the workmen? Possible one of them took the merchandise?
Mr. Friday, do you know how much $12,000 in clothes is?
Yes, sir, I have an idea.
The both of you couldn't carry it in one trip. Not in a couple of trips. Whoever took those clothes was here a long time, and he worked hard getting them out of the store.
Yes, sir, but about the workmen?
It couldn't have been one of them. None of them have keys to the place. We have to open up to let them in, and they leave before we close. If they tried to get the things out of the store, one of us would have seen it. Couldn't possibly have been one of them.
Frank? Yeah? You want to call the crime lab? Sure. Can I use your phone?
Yes. It's on the counter in front of the store. I just don't understand it.
Sir?
Just doesn't seem to be any way they could have gotten all of the clothes out. No way at all.
Well, they must have found one. 10:38. The crew from the crime lab arrived and went over the place. The whole store was checked, and all entrances and exits of the store were checked for fingerprints. Both the front door and the rear exit were examined, but there was no mark of a Jimmy. The windows on the second floor were gone over, but the locks on them were secure, and there was no apparent way they could have been used to remove the stolen merchandise. We talked to the other clerks from the store. From them, we got approximately the same story that we'd obtained from the store manager. They verified that the merchandise had been on the premises at 3:30 p.m. the day before. None of them could say for certain that it was there after that, however. While Frank was checking with the members of the crew from the crime lab, I called the names of the employees into the record bureau for a check. Yeah, that's Baker, B-A-K-E-R, WMA, 46 years, 5 feet 10 inches tall, 156 pounds. Right. What? No, no visible marks or scars. Right. Joe, I got something for you. Okay, if you'll check the names, I'll give you a call later. Right. What do you got? Come on upstairs. I got talking to Lee, and I figured from what they found, the merchandise had to be taken out in the daytime. Lee goes along with that? Yeah. The way the doors look, if they were open, somebody used a key. Mm-hmm. He thinks like we do, that somebody took the cases out, planted them, then picked the stuff up last night. Well, what do you got up here? A window that opens out on the roof of the next building. We checked the lock. It hasn't been tampered with. Yeah. Come on. Climb up. No bars on this one, huh? Over here. Right there behind the air shaft. Now, what is it? Take a look. Shirts. And this one, suede coats. Is this all that was taken? No. Manager says it's about half. No sign of the rest of it, huh? No. Must have taken that last night. Figures the thief will be back tonight for the rest. Well, it'll be here. Mm-hmm. So will we. We asked the manager of the clothing store to keep watch on the cases of stolen merchandise while we made arrangements to place a stakeout on them. 12:14 p.m. The crime lab finished their investigation, and Frank and I talked with Lee Jones. He told us that he'd checked the fingerprints found on the doors and windows, but that all of them had been eliminated as they belonged to the members of the store staff or to the workmen. He told us that they'd found an impression of a tire print in the dirt of the alley next to the building where the stolen clothing had been found. He went on to say that they'd checked and had found that the truck belonging to the plaster contractor had tires of the same type that had left the impression. The canvas was made of the tenants in the building next to the clothing store, but they could give us no new information on the possible identity of the thief. 3:52 p.m. We checked back with the record bureau on the list of names of store employees. Yeah. When was that? Uh-huh. How long? You get out clean? Mm-hmm. Nothing on the rest of them, huh? Yeah. Okay, thanks. Bye. Anything?
Yeah, they checked the names, came up with one possible.
Yeah.
The assistant manager, Al Baker. He's done time for burglary.
The Record Bureau had come up with the information that Alfred Roger Baker had been arrested in 1943 for burglary. He'd been tried and convicted on 3 counts. He'd spent a term in the state penitentiary at San Quentin, and he'd been released. Since that time, he apparently had led the life of an exemplary citizen. 4:07 p.m. Frank and I took him to the office of the clothing store to talk to him.
Sit down, Baker.
Sure. What's this all about? You don't think I had anything to do with this burglary, do you?
How many times have you been arrested?
Why do you ask that?
We just want an answer.
You seen the record?
We've seen it.
You know without me telling you.
We'd like to hear it from you.
I was arrested once. I did the time. I'm clean since then. I thought when you did the time and they let you out, you didn't owe anybody anything.
Yes, that's right.
Well, then what are you guys hopping on me for? I just work here. I mean, just because I did a hitch for burglary that I had anything to do with this.
We didn't say you did.
Well, you're sure acting like I did, bringing me in here talking about how I was arrested. Sure acting like you think I had something to do with this one.
Well, you look good for it.
Well, how do you figure that?
You got the only other key to the door.
Look, I don't like to bring this up. Maybe you bright cops haven't thought about it, but who says Dodds couldn't have done it himself?
What do you mean?
Well, he's in trouble, big trouble. This would be an easy way out of it.
All right, you tell us.
Well, all the stuff is insured. It'd be pretty sweet for him to lift the merchandise, collect on the insurance, and then sell the stuff, too. It'd come out real good.
That's the way you got it figured, huh?
I'm not trying to figure it anyway. All I know is that you guys are trying to wrap something around me that doesn't fit, and I want no part of it. If I'm right down, it must be a couple of guys work here could have done it.
Well, the way we got it, the thief used a key.
Well, that brings us right back to Dodds.
Well, if he's in trouble financially, then why is he doing all this remodeling?
He hasn't got much choice. He's got to brighten this place up or he's going to lose what business he's got. You check into him. You look it up. You'll see what I'm talking about. It makes a lot more sense than you hauling me in here.
Can you account for your time last night?
From when?
From the time you left here.
Yeah, I can give you every minute.
All right, go ahead.
I left here at 6:30. That's the time I always leave.
Who was here when you left?
You mean who locked up?
That's right.
Leonard. He always locks up, always.
Where'd you go after you left?
Went up to the corner and had a beer. That's like always, too.
Anybody in the bar know you?
Yeah, the bartender and the waitress.
They'll vouch for you?
Sure they will.
All right, go ahead.
After I left there, I drove home.
What time did you leave the bar?
About 7:10. I had 1 beer, smoked 2 cigarettes, put a nickel in the nut machine on the bar, and went home. I left at 7:10. Sure wish I knew you were going to want to know all this. I'd have been more careful about remembering. I forgot how many nuts I got from the machine. I'll take a wild guess and say 14. I got no way of proving that. You'll have to take my word for it.
What time did you get home?
By 7:50.
Where do you live?
Out in the valley. Traffic's heavy going out at the pass that time, and I took me 10 minutes longer than it usually does.
You prove when you got home?
Yeah, I can.
How?
Talk to my wife. We got a time clock on the wall just as you come in the door. I punch in and out. The time will be there.
What about last night?
I was home all night. I had dinner, sat around and watched television, went to bed.
You didn't leave your house, huh?
No, not from the time I got home last night until I left this morning. Pretty bad, isn't it?
How do you mean that?
I can prove every minute of it. Look, you get off my back, cop. You start looking around, you'll come up with a lot of guys who had a lot more chance and a lot more reason to heist that stuff than I do. That won't be hard because I haven't got any. You sit tight and I'll show you who sold that stuff.
Huh?
Wait a minute.
Where are you going?
Just over to the desk. I want to show you something.
What?
You'll see.
Hold it just a minute. Now, you show me what you want and I'll get it for you.
Yeah, you cops, you never learn, do you? Open the top drawer.
This one?
Yeah.
All right.
Now open that one.
All right, what do you want?
A folder right there.
This one?
Yeah, that's the one. Put it up on the desk.
All right.
Go on, open it.
Yeah?
Now take a good look at the reason the stuff was stolen.
What is it, Joe?
Bills. There isn't anything in the store that's paid for. Take a look at them yourself. Here. Look here. Past due. Please remit. Your credit is important. Overdue. Past due. Go through the rest of them. They're all like that. There isn't a place in the country anymore that'll extend any credit to Dodds. Not one. You're looking for somebody who had a reason to steal the stuff? Well, there's your answer. You talk to Leonard Dodds. He's got the reason.
Come in.
Joe.
Thanks. See you a minute.
I'll take it.
Okay.
Telling you, you got to lean on somebody. You lean on Leonard Dodds. He's the one. Don't come around here bothering me.
Joe.
Yeah. Yeah, what do you got?
He might be telling the truth.
Huh?
Stuff on the roof.
Yeah.
It's gone.
You are listening to Dragnet, the authentic story of your police force in action.
Meet Peter Lind Hayes and Mary Healy, America's favorite husband and wife comedy team. They are typical of smokers everywhere who are saying, Chesterfields for me. Mary says,
I've smoked regular-sized Chesterfields for about 7 years.
Guess that ought to prove how I feel about Chesterfield's taste and mildness.
Peter says Chesterfield's for me, too.
As far as I'm concerned, King is the only size. And like Mary says, Chesterfield is the only cigarette.
Either way you like them, I'll bet you'll find Chesterfield is best for you.
Yes, smoke America's most popular two-way cigarette. Regular and king-size Chesterfield. The best cigarette ever made. And best for you.
With the removal of the remaining packages on the roof, our main opportunity of catching a thief was gone. We questioned the people in the store about it. From them, we learned that the manager, Leonard Dodds, had brought the cases of clothing into the store himself. We talked to him, and he offered as an explanation the fact that the insurance company wouldn't like him leaving a supply of expensive suede coats up on the roof. He went on to say that catching the thief was our business, that we were not to interfere with his running of the store and any attempt to apprehend them. We tried to question him regarding the accusations made by the salesman, Al Baker. He said they were ridiculous and that we should know better than to listen to the accusations made by an ex-convict. He went on to say that he resented the questions we put to him and that if we intended to continue, he would have to get in touch with his lawyer. We contacted the office and made arrangements for a stakeout to be set up on the roof of the building next door, and then Frank and I returned to the office to check further on Leonard Dodds. We checked with his bank, and we found that he had several notes on the clothing store. The head of the loan department told us that Dodds' payments had been irregular, and that at the time he was overdue on one of the notes. We contacted the insurance company and found that Dodds had made a claim on the stolen merchandise that morning and had requested payment as soon as possible. We turned a list of the stolen articles over to pawn shop detail and asked them to see that the information would get into the hands of the second-hand dealers in the city. 10:15 p.m. Frank and I filled out the log and prepared to leave the office.
You about ready?
Yeah, I'll be right with you. I got it. Burglary Friday. Yes, ma'am. Well, I'm not sure. No, the officer that handled the case isn't here right now. I wonder if I could take a message. Yes, ma'am. He'll call you when he gets in. All right, Yes, all right. If you'll wait just a minute, I'll transfer you to the main jail. No, the main jail. They'll probably be able to tell you. Yes, that's right. Just a minute. Hold on, please. Would you give this call to 2949, please? That's right, the bill clerk. Thank you. The woman wants to know how much it's going to cost to get her husband out of jail. Yeah. I got it. Burglary Friday. Yeah, Yeah, that's right, we did. Yeah. Well, when was that? Yeah, that's right. Yeah, okay, we'll wait here. Right, bye. Well, looks like we got it made, maybe.
What do you mean?
Radio car out in the Westlake district just picked up a couple of kids.
Uh-huh.
Both of them were loaded down with clothes.
Yeah.
Label on them is Dodds Clothing. The radio car officer had told me on the phone that he and his partner, while making a routine patrol of the area, had spotted two boys walking down the streets carrying large quantities of clothing. When they were stopped, the two suspects were unable to account for the clothes, and they were not able to tell the arresting officers where they'd gotten them. In checking the pair out, the officers had called burglary detail, and we'd gotten our first concrete lead to the thief. 10:47 p.m. The two suspects arrived at the office. Their names were checked through R&I, and they were both found to have misdemeanor records listing petty theft and attempted burglary. One of them, Walter Kramer, had been convicted on burglary charges and had been sentenced to Preston School for Boys. He was at the time on parole. While the other boy waited in the squad room, Frank and I questioned Kramer in the interrogation room.
How old are you?
18.
Where do you live?
You know that already. What are you asking me again for? I told the other cop, gave him all the information.
Where do you live?
2574 Brandon Street.
You want to tell us where you got the clothing you had when you were picked up?
You're smart cops. You figure it out.
You on parole now?
No, I got out clean.
Are you still that way?
That depends on how you read this one.
Where'd you get those things?
I found them.
You expect us to buy that?
I don't care if you buy it or not. It's the truth.
You're pretty heavy, aren't you?
I've been around.
That time up at Preston didn't do you much good, did it?
You'd be surprised what I learned up there.
Not what you were sent there for.
That depends on where you're sitting.
You were picked up carrying a load of stolen clothes.
You want to tell us where you got them?
You tell me.
Well, come on, kid. Where'd you get the clothes?
You going to play it that way, are you?
There ain't any other.
Where were you yesterday?
Starting when?
From when you got up.
I got to tell you all that?
We want to hear it.
Pretty dull.
All right, go ahead.
Well, I got up about noon.
You got a job?
Yeah.
Where?
Around.
What do you do?
Nothing. I'm a philosopher. I study people. I just sit around all day and study people.
How do you live?
Stay with my folks. They pick up the tab.
Go ahead.
With what?
What you did yesterday.
Told you. I got up about noon. Had some breakfast, then went over to Harry's.
That's the boy you were picked up with?
Yeah, I went over to his house. Sat around and watched the television.
How long were you at his house?
Maybe 6. Sat around and talked philosophy. Talked and watched the old movies.
What'd you do then?
Left and went out to study people.
Where'd you go?
Went down, played a couple of games of pool, had something to eat.
And after that?
Went out to a movie.
You got any way of proving that?
Sure, talked to Harry.
See your alibi?
Yeah, you talk to him. He'll tell you.
Now, you may not know this, but he's in the theft as deep as you are.
I got some information for you, cop. Neither one of us is in on it at all.
All right, get your coat.
Where you taking me?
City jail.
You gonna book me?
You called it.
How about Harry?
Well, how about him?
He going too?
Yeah.
What charge?
Suspicion 459 PC.
Burglary?
That's right. Come on.
You mean that stuff is really stolen?
That's right.
You're telling me right?
Yep.
It ain't true.
You tell us about it.
No, I mean, Harry and me didn't steal the stuff, at least not the first time.
What do you mean by that?
Well, we stole it, yeah, you got us cold for that, but not the first time.
Well, where'd you get it?
From a garage, that's the truth. We stole the stuff from a garage.
Where is the place?
I'll show you. There's a lot more stuff there, a lot more.
Clothing?
Yeah.
Whose garage is it?
I don't know. Harry and me were walking around out there, and we saw this truck pull up. Guy got out and then loaded some packing cases.
When was all this?
Last night. The way the garage looked, though, it wasn't the first time. The place was loaded. A lot of shirts, coats, suits, all kinds of things. Harry and me figured that we might as well help ourselves. But we didn't steal the stuff originally, not the first time.
What's the address where the garage is?
I don't know. Up on Shortdale Avenue near the lake.
We take you up there. Will you point it out for us?
Sure, I'll show you. I want to see him get his, get it real good.
What do you mean?
Imagine having a garage full of stolen things. Terrible, that's what it is.
Is that right?
Sure. The important thing is that you know that we didn't steal it the first time. You got to believe that. We didn't steal it the first time.
Is there really a difference? 12:15 a.m. We talked to the suspect that had been picked up with Kramer. He gave us substantially the same story that we'd gotten from the first boy. They both agreed to take us out to the garage where they'd found the stolen merchandise. Before we left the office, we put in a call to the clothing store, but there'd been no report from the stakeout on the roof. The two suspects directed us to drive out toward Silver Lake. We took the freeway out to Glendale Boulevard and turned right. We drove out to Loma Vista, and then we turned right again. The boys directed us up the hill and then onto a side street. We went about a half a block farther before they pointed out the house to us. We drove down the street and parked the car. Frank and I and the two suspects walked back to the house and into the rear of the yard. A two-car garage in the rear of the building was unlocked. We went in. Scattered around the place, we found several large packing cases of clothing. The labels on them were from some of the most exclusive men's stores in the city. There was no question about it. This was the plant for the stolen merchandise. Frank stood by the back door of the house, and I went up on the front porch and rang the bell.
Yeah?
You're Martin Hetman, aren't you?
Yeah, do I know you?
My name's Spidey, police department.
Oh, yeah, I met you over at Dodge. What is it, some more questions?
Yeah, a few.
Kind of late to come around it.
Well, maybe a little.
You're just going to turn in. Can you wait till morning? I could come down to the police department.
No, I'm afraid we're going to have to talk tonight.
Oh. Okay, come on in.
Thank you. Anybody else in the house?
Just my wife and the kids.
Where are they?
Upstairs. They're all asleep. I told you I was just going to turn in.
Mm-hmm. That garage out back, does that belong to you?
What?
The garage out in the back of the lot, is it yours?
Yeah, it's mine. Why?
What do you use it for?
What do you use a garage for? I keep the truck there.
Well, where's the truck tonight?
I left it at a service station down Glendale Boulevard. Having a grease and the oil change. Why?
Anybody else use the garage besides you?
No.
Everything in it belong to you?
You mind if I call my lawyer?
Well, you can do that from downtown.
You arresting me?
Yes, sir.
You found the stuff, huh?
We found it.
That cigarette?
Yeah, here. Here's a match.
I guess I should have gotten it out of the garage sooner. Figured on it first thing in the morning. When you talked to me this morning at Dodge, I should have known. Should have known right then. I didn't think you'd figure it this way.
All right, come on, get your coat.
Yeah, just let me finish the cigarette. You sure had it figured. Going real good. Want to hear about it?
All right.
Well, I'm a plastering contractor. You know that.
Yeah, you told us that this morning.
Well, I bid on the jobs. All the contractors submit bids on how much we'll do the work for. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I always got in with a low bid. Used to drive the other contractors crazy. Never could figure out how I could come out on it. You see it, though, don't you?
Well, you tell me.
Well, you see, if a job would cost me, say, $3,500 to do, I'd put in a bid for $2,500. I always get the job, and then I'd steal the other $1,000 of merchandise, see?
Mm-hmm.
That way I could come out and nobody get hurt.
What about the store owner?
They were insured. Only body in the middle was the insurance company, so you see, nobody really got hurt.
You about finished with that cigarette now?
Yeah, just about. You're pretty lucky, you know?
Is that right?
Yeah, sure. This is going to be the last time. I figured that after this, I'd be able to go it straight. Got my equipment all paid for, money in the bank. Figured I could go it straight. This was going to be the last time.
Well, you were right, weren't you?
Hey, you mind telling me something?
What's that?
How'd you tag me? How'd you find out?
We caught a couple of kids breaking into the garage. They'd stolen some of the clothes. They were picked up, and they pointed the place out to us.
Kids?
That's right.
Oh, about that. That's really terrible, isn't it?
What is?
Oh, this younger generation. I had legitimate reason. I was just trying to come out. Wasn't anybody going to get hurt my way. But those kids. I hope you're going to put them away for a long time, little thieves.
Come on, get your coat. Let's go.
That's just awful. No sense of honesty at all. I sure hate to think of what the world's coming to.
You want to tell me something, Hetman?
Well, sure. What do you want to know?
Well, you said you just stole the difference between what you agreed to do the job for and what it really ought to be. I got it right?
Yeah, just the difference.
Well, you hit the Dodge store pretty hard, didn't you? $12,000 worth?
Well, you see, that was a kind of a deal.
Well.
I didn't get anything on the last job, not a thing, so I had to make up for it, you see what I mean?
Yeah.
I had to come out some way. Nobody'd expect me to take a complete loss, would they?
I wouldn't know about that.
I just wanted what I had coming.
Yeah, well, you're going to get it this time.
The story you've just heard is true. The names were changed to protect the innocent.
On October 17th, trial was held in Department 89, Superior Court of the State of California, in and for the County of Los Angeles. In a moment, the results of that trial.
Now, here is our star, Jack Webb.
Thank you, George Fenneman. Friends, the next time you buy cigarettes, I wish you'd give our Chesterfields a try. Now, that's all we ask. Just try them, because these cigarettes do a better job of selling themselves than anything I could say. Either way you buy them, regular or king size, I know you'll like them, because they smoke mild and they're really satisfying. Join the millions of smokers who've made Chesterfield America's most popular two-way cigarette. And when you do, I'm convinced you'll agree that Chesterfields are best for you.
Martin Averill Hetman was tried and convicted of burglary in the second degree, 4 counts, and received sentence as prescribed by law. Burglary in the second degree is punishable by imprisonment in the state penitentiary for a period of not less than 1 nor more than 15 years, or by imprisonment in the county jail for not more than 1 year. Walter James Kramer and Samuel Arthur Nicholson were tried and convicted of burglary in the first degree. Burglary in the first degree is punishable by imprisonment in the state penitentiary for a period of not less than 5 years.
This is the year that the March of Dimes has started its polio prevention program. And your dimes and dollars are going to determine just how far this program is carried out. Join the March of Dimes and give extra. Give extra for victory over polio. You'll be glad you did.
You have just heard Dragnet, a series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.H. Parker, Los Angeles Police Department. Technical advisors, Captain Jack Donahoe, Sergeant Marty Wynn, Sergeant Vance Brasher. Heard tonight were Ben Alexander, Harry Bartell, Vic Perrin, Herb Ellis. Script by John Robinson. Music by Walter Schumann. Hal Gibney speaking.
Watch an entirely different Dragnet case history each week on your local NBC television station. Please check your newspapers for the day and time. Chesterfield has brought you Dragnet, transcribed from Los Angeles.
This is it. Say thousands of filter tip smokers who have switched to L&M filters. At last, a filter tip cigarette with plenty of good taste. And a pure, non-mineral filter. You get effective filtration because only L&M filters use alpha cellulose, entirely pure and harmless to health. It's the light and mild smoke. Much more flavor, much less nicotine. This is it. As Roswell Russell puts it, L&M filters are just what the doctor ordered. Today, buy L&M filters.
Listen now to Barry Craig, next on the NBC Radio Network.
The Signal Oil Program. Yes, the Signal Oil Program. The Whistler. That whistle is your signal for the Signal Oil Program, The Whistler.
I am the Whistler, and I know many things, for I walk by night. I know many strange tales hidden in the hearts of men and women who have stepped into the shadows. Yes, I know the nameless terrors of which they dare not speak.
Yes, friends, it's time for the Signal Oil Program, The Whistler, rated tops in popularity for a longer period of time than any other West Coast program in radio history. And Signal gasoline is tops, too, tops in quality. It takes extra quality, you know, to give you extra mileage. And Signal is the famous Go Farther gasoline. So look for the Signal circle sign in yellow and black that identifies independently operated Signal stations from Canada to Mexico. And now the Whistler's strange story. Perfect Alibi.
Entering the Golden Sparrow, a cozy little cocktail lounge near the far end of Beverly Boulevard, Private Investigator Johnny Seltzer, 30, handsome, off duty at the moment, found business at a standstill. He went straight to the bar and ordered a drink.
Scotch and water. I'll mix it. Right. Old Masters, if you have it.
Old Masters it is.
Good.
Johnny carried his drink to the nearest empty table and sat down to think. Self-centered, cynical, and, in his own estimation, a smooth operator, many things were on his mind, especially Johnny Seltzer himself. Things hadn't been going too well for him. Tom Silver, founder of the Silver Detective Agency, had threatened him with dismissal unless he changed his ways, ceased gambling, and gave closer attention to his duties. Staring moodily at the voluptuous paintings lining the walls, Johnny suddenly pushed back his chair and walked over to the jukebox at the end of the bar and slid a nickel into the slot. Returning to his table, he sat back to finish his drink, listened to the music, and sympathized with himself. Ordinarily, Johnny would have welcomed the voice which abruptly shattered his mood. A low, sibilant voice that seemed to come from nowhere.
I like music, too.
Does that make us pals?
Don't seem very happy.
I was.
Most men would be glad to see me.
Yeah, well, I'm different.
I'm sure you are. That's why I came over.
That was my wife's favorite line.
Maybe that's why it didn't register.
It could be.
You didn't like her much, huh?
I didn't.
Divorced?
I didn't kill her. Say, what are you anyway, an investigator for the World Psychology Foundation? I'm surprised you haven't asked me why I got married in the first place.
Oh, I figured that out already. So?
And it shows on you, too.
What?
Your merger with the bankroll behind that mink and ice you're modeling there.
No merger. Present. From a relative.
That's quite a coincidence, isn't it?
What is?
Two people who like money meeting up in a place like Hollywood. And now that we know all about each other, let's call it a day, huh?
Why?
Why not?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe because it's still early. Maybe because it's raining outside.
That's not good enough. I like to walk in the rain. Nice if you'd invite yourself over. Maybe I'll run into you again sometime.
Wait a second.
Yeah?
Am I that hard to take?
How would I know?
You might find out.
I'm not curious.
Can I take your order?
No, thanks. I'm taking a powder.
Waiter, 2 scotches and waters. We'll mix it.
I said I was leaving.
Don't be like that, Johnny.
Hmm?
Well,
What was that name you called me?
you're Johnny Seltzer, Private Eye, aren't you?
Okay. You know who I am. I figured that pickup pitch was a phony.
Well, like you said, I'm Johnny Seltzer.
And I'm Alice Collins.
Who's she?
She's the niece of Charles Collins.
Charles Collins. Not the #1 boy of lumber.
That's what it says in the paper. I never saw him till 2 years ago. He wrote and asked me how I'd like to live out here, and I said I'd like it. So here I am.
Mm-hmm. Eastern talent?
I was born and raised in Springfield, Missouri.
Who sent you to me?
Nobody. I saw you out at Dilbo's one night last week. I asked a croupier who you were.
I see. The lady gambles, loses. Now she wants me to get her money back, right?
Wrong.
No, I don't think so. What did you do? Follow me here from the office?
Mm-hmm. Am I forward?
Well, just say easy to approach, like a department store.
Pardon me.
Okay, waiter. Let's have the check, huh?
Just put it on my bill, will you, please?
Certainly, Miss Collins.
Take it out of this. Keep the change.
Thank you.
Well, that was nice of you, Johnny.
Cigarette?
Thanks.
Now, look, Springfield, you got an angle or you wouldn't be talking to me. What is it?
You ought to get over that inferiority complex. There's no angle. I just thought you'd be a nice guy to know. Later on, after I know you better, I might be able to throw a little business your way.
Detective business?
Terrific detective business. Maybe as much as $50,000.
Well, that's nice money. It's too bad I work on a straight salary. The Tom Silver Detective Agency makes the deal.
Not this one. This would be a special deal, Johnny. $50,000. Just for you. Interested?
If it was legit, you wouldn't be putting out that kind of dough.
You're jumping to conclusions, aren't you?
Maybe. But if I'm wrong, you can always take it up with the agency. You know where the office is.
Okay, Johnny. But if you ever change your mind and want to talk it over, call me up.
I will. So long, Springfield.
You can get me almost any afternoon at Melrose. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's easy to remember, Johnny. All you have to do is count 5 backwards.
When you leave the Golden Sparrow, you're sure you've seen the last of Alice Collins, aren't you, Johnny? Yet a few days later, you're not so sure. Your boss, Mr. Silver, has you on the carpet again, and you have an unpleasant feeling you'll soon be out of a job. $50,000 is a lot of money, and Alice herself is something to ponder over. She's really beautiful, isn't she, Johnny? You can't forget her lovely features, her low musical voice. The things she said keep repeating themselves.
$50,000. Just for you. It's easy to remember, Johnny. Melrose, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All you have to do is count 5. Backwards.
A few afternoons later, you enter a drugstore, cross to the phone booth, lift the receiver, deposit a coin, and reach for the dial.
You can get me at Melrose, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's easy to remember, Johnny. All you have to do is count 5. Backwards.
With the prologue of Perfect Alibi, the Signal Oil Company brings you another strange story by The Whistler. Have you been putting off buying new tires? You're going to be glad you waited, because now you can save real money at Signal service stations. But hold on. Don't get the idea that Signal dealers are offering cut-price merchandise. Signal dealers feature nationally advertised first-line Lee tires, built to top-quality standards. In fact, for 47 years, Lee has built only one quality, the finest first-line tires. And today's Lees wear much, much longer, because Lee toughens cold rubber with patented high-abrasive Fill Black O. That's why Lee can back every tire with a double guarantee. Well, since such quality obviously can't be sold at cut prices, how can Signal dealers save you money? By giving you today's biggest allowance for your old tires. That's right. That sign outside Signal stations means just what it says. Biggest allowance for your old tires on top-quality Lee tires. I can't tell you exactly how much your old tires are worth, but they're worth plenty. And you can easily find out. by driving into any Signal station. So before you buy any tire, see a Signal dealer. You'll be glad you did.
Well, Johnny, a few days ago when you left the Golden Sparrow after your pickup tete-a-tete with Alice Collins, niece of the multimillionaire lumberman Charles Collins, you didn't expect to see her again, did you? You're a licensed private detective, and she sounds like trouble. But with things piling up on you as they have, you decide you were a little hasty. An hour after phoning her, you drive to a modest little apartment building on Fountain Avenue near Cahuenga. Curious but still cautious, you knock lightly on the door.
Hello, Springfield.
Hello, Johnny. Come in.
You still like music, don't you?
Mm-hmm. I've got a good memory, too.
You have at that.
Here, let me take your hat. Then we'll go in the sunroom.
Okay.
Sit here, Johnny, and help yourself. Cigarette, scotch, and ice water.
Oh, this is cozy. Real cozy.
My uncle gives me a very nice allowance. I spend every weekend with him, out at his home near the ocean.
It's quite a home, from what I hear. Swimming pool, badminton court.
Mm-hmm. But I'm young and like to go places. Uncle Charles didn't want me to drive out there alone late at night all the time, and so he suggested I take an apartment in town. You see, I'm his only blood relative.
You ought to have quite a future.
Mm-hmm. If I'm not an old lady before anything happens to him.
I wouldn't dwell on it. Nobody lives forever.
Excuse me, Johnny.
Sure.
Oh, Frankie.
Hello, beautiful. Here.
Thanks. Oh, they're lovely.
So are you. How about a drink?
In the sunroom. You can mix me one while I put these in the icebox. I've been talking with the man for Uncle Oh, Johnny.
Hello, Snoop.
Well, you two know each other?
For years. Hiya, Frankie. What are you doing here?
I'm here a lot. How gorgeous.
Yes. You see, Johnny...
What I can't figure out is what a Snoop's doing here.
Business. Strictly business, Frankie.
You see, Uncle Charles has been sick, and, well, he heard rumors, things at the mill weren't on the up and up, and asked me to make some inquiries.
Why didn't you ask me about it, baby? I'd have gotten you the best in the business.
You don't think Johnny's good?
He's all right. Oh, forget it, Snoop. I'm sorry I acted like I was sore. But when you're nuts about a dame, bad, you know how it is.
Sure, Frankie. That's okay.
Cigarette?
Yeah, thanks.
I'll be back in a second. I want to put these on.
All right, take your time.
It's a nice cigarette. Class, too. F.B. Frankie Benson, monogrammed in Old English. Everything.
You really like it?
Like I said, Frankie. Class.
Well, here. Take a bunch.
Oh, no, I didn't mean
Go
that.
ahead, go on. I order them by the gross.
Well, thanks.
This job for old man Collins you're talking to the doll about.
Oh, I don't know anything about it yet. I just got here 2 minutes before you did.
No. How about a drink?
Sounds fine.
I think I'll skip it, baby. You got to talk to Snoop here. I'll pick you up at dinner around 7, okay?
Sounds fine.
Good. Drop around later on, Snoop. Say around 5:30. I might have an idea for you.
5:30 it is. So long, Frankie.
Well, Johnny, your golden girl seems a little tarnished, doesn't she? Not that you're surprised, but you are disappointed. And a little nettled to realize that a girl with the background of Alice Collins would waste her time on a gambler, a glorified hoodlum like Frankie Benson, operator of the notorious Dilbo's Gambling Club. After Frankie's departure, you make no attempt to hide your annoyance.
Nice friends you got.
Honestly, Johnny, it's not what you think.
What do I think?
You think I'm Frankie Benson's girl?
Well, aren't you?
No.
He thinks so.
I know he does. The way things are, I've had to let him think so. I owe him money, Johnny, a lot of money.
Oh. So the lady did gamble and lose.
Yes, she did. And if Uncle Charles found out, he'd cut off my allowance like that. Maybe send me back to Springfield, even.
So you want me to get your money back? Springfield. This is where I came in. Frankie Benson plays too rough for me. Way too rough.
Wrong again, Johnny. I don't want you to stick out your neck from...
What do you want me to do?
Just... that's all.
Look, Springfield, that day I met you, you mentioned a piece of business you could throw my way. $50,000 worth.
I said we'd talk about that after I knew you better.
Now, how long is that going to take?
Not very long, I hope.
As you drive out to Dilbo's at the request of Frankie Benson, your imagination goes far beyond anything you've ever thought of. You decide to marry Alice Collins. She's beautiful, and someday she'll inherit the Collins lumber fortune, reported to amount to more than $2 million. But you're worried about her connection with Frankie Benson. Frankie usually gets what he wants in one way or another. And when he doesn't, well, accidents happen, don't they? But when you enter his office, he's more than friendly.
Hello, Sherlock. Sit down.
Thanks.
Take a handful of cigarettes. You said you like them.
Well, like I said, they're class.
I haven't seen you around lately, Johnny. What's the matter? Don't you like to play here anymore?
Oh, sure, Frankie, but, well, I owe you nearly a G right now, and I figured maybe I'd better pay up before I...
Oh, your credit's always good here, Johnny. As long as we're friends.
Well, it's nice to know. Well, what do you want to see me about?
Oh, nothing in particular. Just curious about that snoop job for old man Collins. Is it all set?
I don't know. Alice, or Miss Collins, is going to talk to her uncle about it. I'll know in a couple of days.
How come she picked you?
Well, she didn't. She called the office. The boss sent me out to talk to her.
I'm glad you told me that, Johnny. I've always liked you. If there's anything I hate, it's being jealous of a guy I like.
Well, like I told you, Miss Collins is called as a client, and the boss sent me out there. It's strictly business, Frankie.
I'm glad, Johnny. And I hope you keep it that way. Both of you.
Frankie Benson's cordial manner doesn't fool you for a minute, does it, Johnny? It only makes his thinly veiled threats more pointed. Frankie Benson is still a gangster of the old school. And you have no intention of giving up Alice Collins. But you decide you'd better be careful. And for the next few weeks, your meetings with Alice are at out-of-the-way places, usually some distance into the country. You're determined that nothing is going to prevent your marrying her and enjoying the fortune which will be hers after the death of her uncle. The idea of her uncle's quick departure doesn't seem to shock you at all anymore, does it, Johnny? She says nothing further about the business deal she mentioned. Finally, as you decide it's time for a showdown, she phones you late one evening and asks you to drop by her apartment. She seems tense and excited.
Frankie Benson dropped in this afternoon, Johnny. He wasn't very pleasant.
Now, look, you're playing with dynamite leading that guy on. He always takes care of Welchers, and when he goes nuts over a dame, he really goes nuts. The last dame that tried to fool him had a very peculiar accident. She fell on a letter opener and cut herself bad.
I know. He told me about it today while I was opening the afternoon mail. He gave me an ultimatum, Johnny. Marry him or pay up in 2 weeks.
Well, can't you figure some way to get the money from your uncle?
$33,000? Not while he's alive. Of course, he could go any time. He's a restless sleeper. He's got asthma, high blood pressure, and a weak heart. He might even get tangled up in the bedclothes some night and smother.
You think that might happen?
It could.
And if it did, there'd be $50,000 in it for me, right?
Yes, Johnny. $50,000 just for you.
It's too risky. I wouldn't be around long enough to spend it.
There's no risk at all. I'll take you out to Uncle Charles a couple of times. By the time you make up your mind, you'll know every foot of the place. You'll have the key to the front door in your pocket.
The servants would all be deaf, huh?
On Thursday nights, they're out. Except Whitcomb, the butler. He's always there in case Uncle Charles needs him.
Wait a minute. You'd expect me to...
Whitcomb's no problem. No problem at all. He always reads in the library, near the phone. You see, you'll open the front door at 11 o'clock. At 2 minutes before 11, I'll phone. When he answers, I'll hold him for 10 minutes at least. That'll give you all the time you need. Uncle Charles' death will be the most natural thing in the world. Doctor says it could happen any time.
Mm-hmm. You really got it figured out, haven't you?
A long time ago.
Yeah, well, I'm afraid you picked the wrong guy. Too many chances for a slip-up. Things could go wrong. The doc might get suspicious, find it was murder.
What if he does? You won't be connected with it. You'll have a perfect alibi.
What?
You'll be with me at my place all evening. There's no reason to think that I'd wish my uncle any harm. We'll have a few drinks. You can leave your fingerprints over everywhere. Forget your cigarette case, your top coat. It'll stand up. What about it, Johnny?
50,000's not enough.
After the will's settled, I'll double it.
No, that's not enough either. I'm not interested in the money anymore. I want you, Springfield. I want to marry you.
Do you think I'd ever let you get away from me, darling?
I like that.
So did I. What about next Thursday, Johnny?
Maybe. I got to figure out the other half of the problem first.
The other half?
Frankie Benson. As long as he's around, what happens to your uncle won't mean a thing.
And you do figure it out, don't you, Johnny? Frankie Benson's monogram cigarette. Instead of making it look like an accident, you'll make it look like murder. A murder that will send Frankie Benson to the gas chamber. The following Thursday evening, you go to Alice's apartment to double-check the details.
Now, look, Springfield, about Frankie Benson.
He called up a couple of minutes ago, Johnny. Wanted to drop over for a while. I told him I had a headache.
What'd he say?
He's beginning to scare me, Johnny. He told me I'd better take a nap. Said I might get dizzy and fall down and hurt myself. Said he'd call back in a couple of hours and see how I felt.
Good. That's all I needed. Let's see. It takes about 40 minutes to drive from Dilbo's to here. All right. When he calls back, tell him to come over about 11:15.
But I thought you were...
I'm taking care of Frankie tonight, too. With one of these.
Frankie's monogram cigarette.
Yeah. I worked it all out, Springfield. All I needed was a break, like Frankie's phone call. Tonight's job's going to be murder. A murder that'll send Frankie Benson to the gas chamber.
Oh, no, Johnny. The other way's safer.
We won't get another chance like this in a million years. Now, when I leave, I'll drop one of these monogram cigarettes by the front door. The rest is automatic.
Oh, no, Johnny. It won't work. The cigarette will point to Frankie, sure, but it won't stand up when he tells the police he was framed. They'll believe him. Frankie hasn't any reason to kill Uncle Charles.
I've taken care of that, too. I called the DA this afternoon. Said I was your uncle and told him to send a man out tomorrow morning. The newspaper boys will be there, too. They're expecting a big story about Frankie Benson.
Oh, you're out of your mind, Johnny. Uncle Charles never gambled in his life. He never even heard of Frankie Benson.
The DA heard different. He thinks your uncle found out about your gambling losses to Frankie. He sent out a private eye to Dilbo's. The guy picked up a couple of pairs of dice. Loaded. Cute, huh?
Yes, it is. But what about Frankie's coming here tonight?
Now, that's the clincher, baby. When he gets here, your headache will be so bad you'll have to send him away. When the cops pick him up, if he tells them he was here, he's lying. That's my alibi. I was here all of the evening.
Oh, it'll work, Johnny. Oh, you're wonderful.
Well, that's it, baby. With you to back me, it can't miss. Wish me luck, Springfield.
All the luck in the world, darling. Hurry back.
Well, I'm not coming back tonight, baby. Our alibi is all set. The evidence will back us up. I think it's better if I just hold up at home for a day or so, huh?
I guess you're right.
Now, look, don't forget to phone the butler just before 11.
I won't. Come here, Johnny.
Huh?
That's for luck, darling.
The Whistler will return in just a moment with a strange ending to tonight's story. Since this is the season when so many of the most popular radio shows go off the air for the summer, I have tonight what I trust will be good news for you Whistler fans. The Signal Oil program, The Whistler, will continue to come to you throughout the summer without interruption. This makes the 6th consecutive year that Signal Oil Company has broadcast The Whistler for 52 weeks each year. What's more, if your vacation travel should take you into other Pacific Coast states, you can still enjoy your favorite mystery, because Signal Oil Company broadcasts The Whistler on 16 CBS stations throughout 5 Pacific Coast states. For the nearest Columbia station to wherever you happen to be, just consult the handy radio log in the new Signal road maps, which are yours for the asking at all Signal stations. So this summer, when you want the tops in radio entertainment, we hope you'll continue to tune in The Whistler. And when you want the tops in gasoline quality, we hope you'll turn in to a Signal service station and fill up with Signal. the famous Go Farther gasoline.
Taking care of Charles Collins was easy, wasn't it? Everything went exactly as you planned. And it came easy to you, didn't it, Johnny? You even slept soundly afterward. The following morning, lolling back in your one comfortable chair, you read the whole story in the papers. It's all over the front page. Lumber King murdered. Police solved case in record time. Killer apprehended. Everything worked out exactly as you planned, didn't it, Johnny? And in a few months, you'll marry Alice Collins and the Collins fortune. As the doorbell rings, you decide it must be another bill collector. That amuses you, doesn't it? You stroll leisurely to the door and turn the knob.
Well, it's you, Lieutenant. Hello, Jennings. Come on in, boy.
No, I haven't got time, Johnny. Besides, we can talk better downtown. Get your hat.
Is that official?
Very. Murder, Johnny. Collins killing last night.
Oh, yeah. I was just reading about that when you came in.
You've been seeing a lot of his niece lately, haven't you, Johnny?
Yeah, sure. She's a client of mine. I was with her last night, at her apartment, as a matter of fact, from 9 until, well, nearly 1 this morning.
Is that an official statement?
Of course it is.
Make a note of it, Jennings. Well, as a matter of fact, we know all about that, Johnny. You left your fingerprints all over the place. You must have been pretty high. You even forgot your overcoat, cigarette case.
Oh, well, I'll admit we had a few drinks. But what's the idea, Lieutenant? The morning paper says you've already nabbed the guy that killed Collins.
Yes, we have. Frankie Benson. He was a little noisy making his exit. He got panicky and dropped his card as he opened the front door. A half-smoked cigarette. Monogrammed. His own special brand.
Benson admitted it?
No. But his alibi was so phony, he's as good as convicted right now.
Yeah, but what motive would Benson have?
Plenty. Old man Collins had him cold. Crooked game. Loaded dice. He was going to give the DA the whole story this morning.
Well, if you've got everything so sewed up, why do you want to talk to me about the Charles Collins murder?
We're taking you in for the murder of his niece, Alice Collins, Johnny. She got hers about 11 last night in her apartment. Stabbed with a letter opener, as if you didn't know. Pretty clumsy accident, Johnny.
Let that whistle be your signal for the Signal Oil program, The Whistler, each Sunday night at this same time. Brought to you by the Signal Oil Company, marketers of Signal gasoline and motor oil, and fine quality automotive accessories. Signal has asked me to remind you, to get the most driving pleasure, drive at sensible speeds, be courteous, and obey traffic regulations. It may save a life, possibly your own. Featured in tonight's story were Jack Webb, Doris Singleton, and Eddie Marr. The Whistler was produced and directed by George W. Allen, with story by Ed Bloodworth, music by Wilbur Hatch, and was transmitted to our troops overseas by the Armed Forces Radio Service. The Whistler is entirely fictional, and all characters portrayed on The Whistler are also fictional. Any similarity of names or resemblance to persons, living or dead, is purely coincidental. Remember at the same time next Sunday, another strange tale by The Whistler. Marvin Miller speaking. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Ladies and gentlemen, the story you are about to hear is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Dragnet is brought to you by Chesterfield, made by Liggett & Myers, first major tobacco company to bring you a complete line of quality cigarettes.
You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned to juvenile detail. 4 children in your city have apparently been abandoned by their mother. There's no trace of the woman's whereabouts. There's a possibility of foul play. Your job, investigate. Today, you hear these three words everywhere. Chesterfield's for me. The cigarette tested and approved by 30 years of scientific tobacco research. Chesterfield's for me. The cigarette with a proven good record with smokers. And first cigarette to have such a record. Chesterfield's for me. Chesterfield gives you proof of highest quality, low nicotine. The taste you want, the mildness you want. The Chesterfield you smoke today is the best cigarette ever made. And best for you.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Friday, February 8th. It was raining in Los Angeles. We were working the night watch out of juvenile detail. My partner's Frank Smith. The boss is Captain Powers. My name's Friday. I was on my way back from Juvenile Hall, and it was 7:46 p.m. when I got to 1335 Georgia Street, the office.
Joe?
Yeah, Irene?
You talked to Captain Powers?
Yeah, the way it looks, Frank's going to be tied up in court for a couple of days. It's going kind of hard.
Gang war, isn't it?
Yeah, seems like everybody in town's climbed on this one, really making a big thing out of it.
Uh-huh.
Fellow skipper said I was supposed to give you a hand on anything that might come up.
Then you just made it. Woman in the next office. You better talk to her.
What's it about?
It'll be better if you got it straight from her.
Was she a crank?
I don't think so. See what you can figure.
All right.
Mrs. Eggers?
Yes, Miss Gardner. You ready to do something about this?
Yes, ma'am. I'd like you to meet Sergeant Friday. Joe, this is Mrs. Eggers.
Now, how do you do?
Miss Eggers?
If you'd give him the story the way you told it to me.
You bet I will. Sit down, young man. I'll tell you all about it.
All right.
Get your book out.
I beg your pardon?
Your book. You're going to take some notations, aren't you?
Well, if you'll just tell us what this is all about.
Yeah. Well, I don't want you to get the idea that I'm the nosy type. I'm not. It's just that I take an interest in the things that go on around me. Civil-minded's the way they put it in the papers.
Uh-huh.
Of course, there are people who say that I pay too much mind to their business, but it isn't true. Not a bit of it.
If you tell the sergeant what happened.
Oh, yeah. Well, these people moved into the house about 6 months ago, the 5 of them.
Yes, ma'am.
Stevie, Pamela, Carol, Martin, and the mother, Rowena. 4 kids and the mother.
All right. Would you like to go on?
Well, now, right off, I could spot this woman. Seen a lot of them.
Well, how do you mean that, Miss Eggers?
You can make it crystal if it's any easier.
Yes, ma'am. What did you mean? That you've seen a lot of them?
Alkies, you know. Drunks.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she's one. I could spot it right off. Her and those 4 beautiful children.
Yeah.
Well, the first few months they lived there, I'd maybe see her a couple times a week, you know, going in the house or coming out. Just a couple times a week.
I see.
Last week, 10 days, I hadn't seen her at all. Not even a little sight.
Mm-hmm.
So right off, I figured that something was wrong. That's the way it looks to me.
All right, thank you, Miss Eggers. We'll check on the house right away.
That's what I wanted this policewoman to do. I told her I'd go right along with you.
Well, that won't be necessary.
Now, listen, young man, if there's anything wrong with them kids, I want to know about it. I want to do my part. The whole neighborhood's talking.
Is that right?
Sure. Little Stevie's been to all the houses looking for something to do, asking for work. It just seems to me that there's something wrong about the whole caboodle of them. Not seeing the mother and the way the boy don't eat the lunch plate, not seeing the other kids. There's something that don't fit over there.
All right, ma'am, we'll look right into it.
You just do that. We'll see what I say is true.
Thank you, Mrs. Eggers.
Don't go thanking me. Just trying to be civil-minded, that's all.
Mm-hmm.
Just seems that there isn't anybody who cares about those kids.
Well, that's not true, Miss Eggers.
What?
We do. 8:14 p.m. Policewoman Irene Gardner and I left the office and drove over to the address the Eggers woman had given us. The house was a small one-story clapboard building located on the rear of the lot. The front yard was overgrown with weeds, and there were neighborhood advertising papers lying around. When we arrived, there was a faint light on in one of the front rooms. Irene and I went up to the front door, and we knocked. We got no answer. I tried the door, but we found it locked. There was no sound from inside the place. The shades were drawn over the windows so that it was impossible for us to see into the house. We walked around to the rear and tried the back door.
It's locked.
Yeah, doesn't look like there's anybody home.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's talk to that Eggers woman again, huh?
All right.
Doesn't make a lot of sense, does it? From the story she gave us, the kid should be at home.
Well, she might be seeing things, Joe. You know, trying to figure out some way to get attention.
Yeah, might be. Didn't seem like that to me, though.
Joe?
What? What do you got there?
The front window. There, you see it?
Yeah.
somebody in there. Come on, let's go. Try it again.
Yeah. Not answering.
Come on, open up in there. We know you're in there. Come on. Open the door.
What do you want?
Police officers, let us in.
There's nothing wrong. Go away.
No, we can't do that. Now, come on, open up.
Who are you going to arrest?
Nobody. We just want to talk to you.
You sure that's all?
That's right.
Okay. Just a minute. What do you want?
You Pamela Telford?
I haven't done anything wrong.
Well, we didn't say you did.
Then what are you doing around here? What are you looking for?
Is your mother in?
What?
Is your mother home?
Well, yeah, she's here.
Well, we'd like to see her if it's all right.
You can't. You can't see her.
Well, I'm afraid we're going to have to.
She's lying down, asleep. That's why you can't talk to her.
Well, what's the matter, little girl?
Nothing. Why'd you ask something like that?
Don't you think you better let us in? We're going to have to talk to your mother.
But she's asleep. She's tired. You can't talk to her. You can't.
Now, come on. You want to go and wake her up? There's some things we've got to talk to her about.
I wonder if we could come in. It's kind of wet out here. How about it?
And then you can get your mother and we can have our talk, huh?
I guess you can come in. I guess it's all right.
Come on in, Joe.
Yeah. The front room was about 12 feet square. The only light in the room came from a candle in a jelly glass on a table. The only furniture in the place was the table that held the candle and a torn artificial leather and chrome couch. The floor was covered with paper, rain-soaked cardboard boxes, and dirty clothes. At a half a dozen different places, drops of dirty water were seeping through the roof. The water was being caught in empty tin cans that had been placed around the room. To the left was a door to a bedroom. In it, in a wooden crib, were 2 children. From the descriptions we'd gotten from the Agers woman, we recognized them as Martin Telford, age 4, and his sister Carol, age 2. As soon as the children saw Irene and me, they hid their heads under the dirty blanket that covered the crib. There was nothing else in the room except a dirty mattress lying on the floor in one corner. From the appearance of the bedding, it hadn't been laundered or changed in at least 3 weeks. On the other side of the house, a small kitchen was piled high with dirty dishes, pieces of rotting food, and empty tin cans. The plumbing in the house had apparently been out of order for several weeks. While Irene and I looked over the house, the girl who'd met us at the door, Pamela Telford, followed us. When we got back to the front room, she started to cry. All right, you want to tell us where she is? Come on, Pamela. It's not as bad as all that, is it? Here's a handkerchief. Here you are. Now, where's your mother?
She's out looking for a job.
It's kind of late for that, isn't it?
I don't know. That's what she's doing, though. Out looking for a job.
Well, now, why'd you tell us that she was here tonight?
Because I didn't know what you wanted. I thought you were trying to arrest her.
Well, why'd you think that?
Because that's what she said.
Your mother said that?
Yes. She told us that policemen arrested people. She told us about it. How you did it once to her.
Your mother's been arrested?
Yes.
Do you know why?
Because she was.
Well, what for, do you know?
She got sick. She got sick and they put her in jail.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I told you she was asleep. I thought that you'd go away and leave us alone.
It's sure cold in here.
Yeah.
Do you have any heat in the house, Pamela?
There's a heater in the bedroom.
Oh, I'll turn it on.
Good.
It doesn't work.
What?
The heater doesn't work. Marty was playing one day and he broke the little rods in it. It doesn't work anymore.
Well, we should be able to get some heat out of it.
No, you won't. There isn't any gas. They turned it off.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think maybe you youngsters better come downtown with us, don't you think?
Why?
Well, it'll be warm down there, a lot more comfortable for you.
We can't go. We gotta wait here.
That's all right, Pamela. We'll leave word for your mother where you are. Maybe that's your mother now, huh?
No, it's Steve.
Who are you?
He's a policeman.
What do you want? There's nothing wrong here. Nothing for you to come butting in for.
We want to see your mother, son.
She hasn't done anything. Why don't you cops leave her alone? All the time you're after her, never leave her alone.
You're kind of rough for a little guy, aren't you?
That's none of your business. I know my rights. I know I'm good.
Now, look here, son. We're going to take you downtown and give you a good meal, just until we can talk to your mother, that's all.
Then you're going to bring us back?
Well, we'll see.
How about Marty and Carol? You taking them too?
Yeah.
Going to give them something to eat?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, we'll go with you. Just for tonight, though, that's all. Just for tonight. You understand?
Yeah.
Oh, and another thing.
Yes, what's that?
We're paying our own way. I've got money. Anything you give us, we're going to pay for.
Well, you won't have to do that, son.
Well, I'm going to. We don't need charity. We're getting along all right. Everybody has a little rough luck now and then. Everybody. Mom tries. She really does. She's been looking for a job for a long time.
Uh-huh. All right, Steve, you want to help get the others ready to leave?
I'm not sure we can go.
Well, I'm afraid you're going to have to, son.
All right, but just for tonight. But the only reason is that I want Marty and Carol and Pamela to have something hot to eat. There's something wrong with the stove, so we can't cook on it. That's the only reason we're going. Just because there's something wrong with the stove.
The gas is turned off.
No, it isn't. It just don't work. But whatever we eat, whatever we get, we're going to pay for it. I've got the money.
Well, I told you once before that won't be necessary.
Well, it is, too. We're not taking any charity. We've never taken any. We're not going to start now either. Anything that's done for us is going to be paid for.
Yeah, I guess that's right, Steve.
Huh?
It'll be paid for. 8:56 p.m. Men from the crime lab arrived and photographed the entire house. The pictures were held for evidence. A search of the house showed that there was no food for the children. In a cardboard box in the bedroom under a pile of toilet articles, we found a photograph of a man and a woman taken at what appeared to be a beach photographer's. Irene and I checked through the rest of the house, but we found nothing that would indicate where the mother of the 4 Telford children had gone. The youngsters were taken to juvenile hall, bathed, given clean clothes, and fed. At first, Steve Telford refused to eat anything until he was assured that his 2 sisters and his brother were being given the same kind of food. After the boy had finished eating, Irene and I talked to him. His previous uncooperative attitude had changed, and he seemed anxious to help us find his mother.
This is the longest she's ever been gone. I'm beginning to think there might be something wrong.
Well, when did you see her last, Steve?
This is Friday, isn't it?
Yes, February 8th.
Uh-huh. It was last Tuesday, then.
You mean this week, son?
No, a week ago. A week ago Tuesday.
Well, what did she say when she left?
Just like always. She said she wasn't feeling very good and she was going out and try to look for work.
What kind of work does she do?
Well, she's a waitress. A good one, too.
Mm-hmm.
That's the trouble, I guess. She's so good.
What do you mean?
Well, there are only a couple of places that Mom says are any good. Well, you know, where she went to work.
I don't believe I understand what you mean, Steve.
Well, Mom always said that she wasn't just a hash slinger. That's what she called it.
Oh, I see.
She said that she was a waitress and she couldn't go to work just any place.
Mm-hmm. Where'd she work last?
A big place out in Beverly Hills. Forgot the name right now. But when she got the job before she went to work, Mom took us out there. We didn't go right in, but we stood in front and looked at it. Big place, real nice. You know, all kind of glass in front. And you could see the people inside having a good time. We didn't go in, but we could see it good.
How long did your mother work there?
Well, she had some trouble, and she had to quit.
What do you mean, trouble?
Well, she got sick, and the man who was her boss got mad at her. And I guess he said a lot of things that Mom didn't like. So Mom told him that he couldn't talk to her like that, and then she quit.
Your mother ever tell you what was wrong with her? Steve?
No, she didn't.
Did you see a doctor about it?
You might as well know it. You're going to find out anyway.
What's that, son?
Well, Mom drank a lot. Sometimes she'd drink too much, and then she'd get sick. That's what was wrong.
Mm-hmm. Where's your father, Steve?
He died before Carol was born. Right before.
I want you to take a look at a picture for us, will you? Look at it and tell us if you know who the man in it is.
All right.
There you are.
That's Mom.
Mm-hmm.
You know who the man is?
No. I don't think I ever saw him before.
Did your mother have any men friends?
No, I don't think so. At least she never told me about him. She always said that the kids were enough for her, that we were all that mattered. She used to say that when she got a steady job, we were all going to live good. She used to tell us how one day the phone would ring and all our troubles would be over. Just like that. One day we've had a little trouble, and the next, everything was going to be all right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she really believed it, too. Just all of a sudden, the phone was going to ring and all our troubles would be over.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know how to tell her.
Tell her what, son?
That they turned the phone off.
We had the name Rowena Telford checked through R&I. We found that the boy's story was true. The woman had been arrested once on a charge of 4127A LAMC, being drunk in a public place. Irene put in a call to the Waitresses Union and asked them to check to see if the woman was working any place in town. They came back with the information that the last job she'd held had been 6 months before, and that she'd been fired for insubordination and for being drunk. We showed the picture of the man and woman that we'd found at the Telford home around the department in the hopes that one of the officers might recognize the place where it was taken. None of them did. The next morning, we had several copies made, and we began a search of the bars along 5th Street. We asked each bartender if he'd ever seen the man or the woman. In the first 4 places we checked, we got yes answers to the query about the woman, but none of the people we talked to could tell us anything about the man in the picture. 2 more days passed without results. In the meantime, a warrant had been issued ordering the arrest of Rowena Telford, charging her with child neglect. A local and an APB were gotten out on her. On the third day after we'd started our search for the missing woman, we talked with a bartender who was able to give us the name of the man in the picture. He described the man as a fry cook in one of the smaller restaurants down on 5th Street. We checked the restaurant, but we found that he'd been fired on Monday, the 28th of January. A check of his home address gave us no indication as to where he might be. Irene and I went back to the office and checked the name through R&I.
Joe?
Yeah? Did you come up with anything?
Check the name. He's registered as an ex-convict.
Uh-huh. Where'd he fall?
Back in Pennsylvania. Did time for ADW.
Well, we better talk to him, huh?
Right now he looks awful good.
Why do you say that?
What he was arrested for.
Yeah.
He tried to beat a woman to death.
You are listening to Dragnet, the authentic story of your police force in action.
Meet Peter Lynn Hayes and Mary Healy, America's favorite husband and wife comedy team. They are typical of smokers everywhere who are saying, Chesterfields for me. Mary says,
I've smoked regular-sized Chesterfields for about 7 years. Guess that ought to prove how I feel about Chesterfield's taste and mildness.
Peter says, Chesterfields for me, too.
As far as I'm concerned, King is the only size. And like Mary says, Chesterfield is the only cigarette.
Either way you like them, I'll bet you'll find Chesterfield is best for you.
Yes, smoke America's most popular two-way cigarette. Regular and king-size Chesterfield. The best cigarette ever made. And best for you.
An immediate search was started for the man in the picture with Rowena Telford. From friends of his, we found that we might be able to locate him at a hamburger stand down at Santa Monica. Tuesday, February 12th. Policewoman Irene Gardner and I drove down to the beach.
Should be it up there, huh?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Thanks. It's warm in here.
Yeah. Yeah. You like to see Willis Thatcher?
What for?
Police officers. You're Thatcher, aren't you?
Yeah, what do you want with me?
A couple questions we'd like to ask you.
Sure, I got nothing to hide. No reason to give you any trouble. What do you want to know?
You know a woman named Rowena Telford?
Why do you ask that?
It's a simple question, Thatcher. Can you give us the right kind of an answer? How about it?
Yeah, I know her. Why? What's she done now?
When did you see her last?
I don't know, a couple of weeks ago.
Narrow that down, will you?
Why? Listen, anything she did, I had no part of.
We understand you were pretty friendly with her.
That's not true. Sure, maybe I had a couple of dates with her, not more than a couple. That's it. And anybody in the world could put up with her for more than that.
Why do you say a thing like that?
You ever know her?
No, we're looking for her.
You?
No, I've never met her.
That's how come you can ask that kind of question. And if you knew her, if you spent any time with her, you had to know what I mean.
Well, suppose you tell us.
She's a lush. A real lush. All the time boozing it up. Wasn't so bad that she got loaded, but she was real loud when she was tanked up. Real loud.
Is that right?
Sure, check around. Ask her friends. Talk to them. They'll all tell you the same story. Every one of them. First off, she'd have a couple of drinks. Next thing you know, any fellow with her be trying to get out of a place without getting his head knocked off. She was always starting trouble. Sit down, order a drink. The next thing you know, some guy was asking you outside. Well, I ain't built to go outside too often. I get hurt bad when I fight.
Mm-hmm. Does she have any other boyfriend?
You don't listen very good, do
What's
you?
that?
I told you, and anybody around here had much to do with it. As far as I know, there wasn't nobody who went with her.
How'd she seem the last time you saw her?
All right. She had a little hangover. She always had one of those.
Seemed depressed about anything?
Not that she talked about.
Mm-hmm. Did she say anything about leaving town?
Not to me. Listen, how about giving me a break and telling me what this is all about? What are you after Rowena for?
These fights you told us about. Do you ever have any arguments with Miss Telford?
I don't think that's any of your business.
We're writing it down that it is. Now, how about an answer?
Well, we had a couple of beefs. I told you couldn't go around with her and not have a little trouble.
Did you ever hit her?
We're back to that, huh?
What do you mean?
You know the record, the time I did. You figure maybe I did something to Rowena, isn't that it? You think I hurt her?
We're asking you.
Well, you're way off the road. I ain't going to try to con you. Sure, maybe I had a lot of reasons to want to belt her. I used to think a lot of Rowena. Awful lot. But that's all over. All I want her to do is to leave me alone. Stay away from me. I didn't ever hit her. I didn't hurt her, no matter what you think.
All right.
You got to believe that. I guess it sounds funny. I ain't trying to fool anybody. I'm ready to admit it. I'm a bum.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't have to keep telling me, not all the time. I knew it.
Yeah.
Nobody likes to be called a bum.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you know it's true.
1:47 p.m. We drove the suspect over to his rooming house and we checked the premises. We found nothing that would definitely tie him in with the disappearance of the Telford woman. After leaving his room, we took him downtown where he was held for further investigation on the charge of suspicion of murder. We checked communications, but we found that there'd been no word on the missing woman. Her name and description had been checked through the files in Missing Persons Bureau without results. 3:40 p.m. Frank came by the office and said that the trial he was attending was dragging on and it would be a couple more days before he'd be back on duty with me. A petition was filed on behalf of the children charging violation of Section 273 APC, unfit home, asking that they be made wards of the juvenile court. Policewoman Irene Gardner put in a call to the next-door neighbor of the Telford woman, but we'd found that there'd been no trace of the missing woman since we'd removed the children. 5:12 p.m. We finished up the log for the day and we were leaving the office. I got it. Juvenile Friday. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, what's that address? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes, sir, we'll be right there. Right, thank you.
What do you got?
Bar over on East 6th.
Yeah?
Rowena Telford just walked in. The bartender was one of those that we'd questioned when we first started our investigation. At the time, he knew the Telford woman, but he said that he hadn't seen her for several weeks. On the phone, he told me that she just walked into his bar. Irene Gardner and I left the office and drove over to the East 6th Street address, but the woman had just left. We had her description and a description of the clothes she was wearing. We put that out to all cars in the area, but she was not picked up. Irene Gardner and I went back to the office, and we put out a supplementary bulletin on the woman. At 8:14 p.m., we got a call from the woman who'd made the original complaint, Mrs. Crystal Agers. She told us that the Telford woman had just walked into her own home. Irene and I left the office, and we drove out to the house on Vallejo Street.
Right on. She must still be home.
Yeah.
Who is it?
Police officers, we'd like to talk to you.
Just a minute.
It's about time you got here. You got them yet?
I beg your pardon?
You got the little brats? They all run off, all of them. Get my hands on them, and they're going to get what for. Where are they?
We have them downtown, Miss Telford.
Why don't you bring them home? This is where they belong. I get my hands on them. Oh, what I'm going to give that little Steve.
You mind if we come in?
No, come right ahead. You got to kind of choose the way your house looks. I've been away for a couple of days. You can see how the kids can mess the place up.
I'm Sergeant Friday. This is Miss Gardner.
Oh, how you do? Would you like to sit down?
No, that's all right.
How come you didn't bring them back?
They're being held in juvenile hall, Miss Telford.
For what?
Well, when we found them, they were suffering from malnutrition. This place here, it's not fit for youngsters.
Oh, so you just took them out and put them in a home, the way it is?
Yes, ma'am, that's the way it is.
Well, you've got your nerve. You really have.
What?
You coming in here and breaking up a home like this. You ought to be ashamed of yourself.
We have a warrant for your arrest.
Me?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, you listen to me, cop. You've got no right to come in here and break up my home. I know all about you, cops. All about you pussyfooting around trying to make everybody think you're so good. I know you for what you are, and I'll tell you this.
Yes, ma'am, what's that?
You better get those kids back here fast. Do you hear me? You get them back here fast, because if you don't, I'm going to sue you and her and the city for every dime it's got. I'll take this to any court in the country I have to, but I'm going to get my kids back. You ain't half as good as you think you are. You want it plain, real plain, so you can understand it. You stink, that's what. All of you stink.
All right, ma'am, I think that's enough of that. Where have you been for the last 2 weeks?
It was the most terrible thing that ever happened to me. To anybody. He told me he loved me and said we was going to get married. I thought it'd be nice for the kids. That's what I thought, for the kids. And we was going to drive down to Mexico and get married. It was all nice.
Mm-hmm.
And everything was going nice. I gave Stevie a couple of dollars and told him to take care of things. And then we left and drove all the way to San Diego without stopping. And then we had some lunch on the way to get married. We had a couple of drinks just to make the food taste better, that's all. Then all of a sudden I got sick again. And he walked out on me. Left me right there in the bar all by myself. And all the promises he made to me, all the things we was going to have. And all of it, just a lot of lies. As soon as I get a little sick, he just had a couple of drinks. He walked out on me. Left me right there all by myself, you know.
Mm-hmm.
All by myself. I didn't have no money. No way to get back. What was I going to do? I believed him. I really thought he was going to marry me. I believed all he said.
how things were going to be better. I believed it all. The dirtiest trick I ever heard of, walking out on a girl like that. A dirty trick.
I got one to beat it.
Hmm?
The one you pulled on your children.
The story you've just heard is true. The names were changed to protect the innocent.
On June 4th, trial was held in Department 97, Superior Court of the State of California, in and for the County of Los Angeles. In a moment, the results of that trial.
Now, here's our star, Jack Webb.
Thank you, George Fenneman. Friends, we've tried very hard to set a Dragnet standard. Now, to put that in just a few words, we try to make each program the kind of entertainment that you want. Now, we're going to keep working real hard at that. And you know, the people who make Chesterfields feel the same way about their cigarette. To sell a product, you have to make it good and keep it good. And the latest reports from our research lab shows Chesterfield is highest in quality. Highest in quality, low in nicotine. Smoke America's most popular two-way cigarette. Chesterfield, regular or king size. They're milder, they're satisfying, they're best for me, best for you.
Rowena Esther Telford was tried and convicted of violation of Section 273A PC, endangering the life and safety of a minor, which is punishable by imprisonment in the county jail for a period of not more than 1 year. The 4 Telford children were made wards of the juvenile court and were placed in foster homes. You have just heard Dragnet, a series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.H. Parker, Los Angeles Police Department. Technical advisors, Captain Jack Donahoe, Sergeant Marty Wynn, Sergeant Van Sprasher. Heard tonight were June Whitley, Sammy Ogg, Virginia Gregg. Script by John Robinson. Music by Walter Schumann. Hal Gibney speaking.
Watch an entirely different Dragnet case history each week on your local NBC television station. Please check your newspapers for the day and time. Chesterfield has brought you Dragnet, transcribed from Los Angeles.
Filter tip smokers, this is it. L&M Filters. The one filtered cigarette with plenty of good taste and a pure non-mineral filter. You get effective filtration because only the L&M filter contains the miracle product alpha cellulose, entirely pure, harmless to health. You get much more flavor, much less nicotine. It's the light and mild smoke. Yes, this is it. As Ann Sheridan puts it, L&M filters are just what the doctor ordered. Today, buy L&M filters.
Hear John Cameron Swayze and the news next on the NBC Radio Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, the story you are about to hear is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Dragnet is brought to you by Chesterfield, made by Liggett & Myers, first major tobacco company to bring you a complete line of quality cigarettes.
You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned to robbery detail. A pair of thieves has been terrorizing the merchants in your city. They're described as a man and a woman. From their actions, you know they're capable of murder. Your job, stop them. Today, you hear these 3 words everywhere. Chesterfield's for me. The cigarette with a proven good record with smokers. Here is the record. Bi-monthly examinations of a group of smokers show no adverse effects to the nose, throat, and sinuses from smoking Chesterfields. Chesterfields for me. The cigarette tested and approved by 30 years of scientific tobacco research. Chesterfields for me. Chesterfield gives you proof of highest quality, low nicotine. The taste you want. The mildness you want. The Chesterfield you smoke today
is the best cigarette ever made. And best for you.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Wednesday, July 23rd. It was warm in Los Angeles. We were working the night watch out of robbery detail. My partner's Frank Smith. The boss is Chief of Detective Stab Brown. My name's Friday. I was on my way back from the main jail, and it was 8:16 p.m. when I got to room 27A. Robbery detail. Hi, Slats.
Joe? Any word from Frank?
Yeah, I talked to Skipper this morning. He said they were having a little trouble with that extradition.
Anything big?
No, I guess not. Chief Brown said the authorities back in St. Louis would get it straightened out. Frank ought to be back in the middle of next week.
Mm-hmm.
Skipper said he wants me to work with you on that liquor store thing.
Gaffney and I can use some help. We've run down just about every lead there is. They all end up in the same place.
Well, I got a little of it. You want to fill me in on the rest?
Yeah. Hot shot, I'll get it. Well, you can get it firsthand.
Yeah?
They just scored again.
Sergeant Slats Henry, Tom Gaffney, and I went downstairs to the carpool. We took out our robbery car and we rolled on the call code 3. It took us a little over 10 minutes to get to the corner of Alexandria and Burns Avenues. The place that had reported being robbed was a small neighborhood liquor store. By the time we'd gotten there, a radio car had answered the call, and a felony car from Hollywood Division had gotten there. While Gaffney talked with the men in the felony car, Slats and I went inside the store to see the victim. The uniformed officer who was with him told us that the elderly man's name was Charles Osborne. We got what information the officer had been able to get, and while he went to his unit to get out a broadcast on the suspects, Slats and I talked to Osborne.
Well, there isn't much to tell. I guess they worked it the same way they've been doing. Just the way how it tells in the papers. The same.
Mm-hmm. There were 2 of them, were there?
Yeah, a man and a woman, 2.
Might be better if you told us just exactly what happened.
Well, just pick up any paper. It's all there. They've been doing the same thing for a couple of weeks. I don't understand it. I don't.
What's that, Mr. Osborne?
Well, these 2 just walk into any store and take what they want. You guys don't seem to be able to stop them. You go great guns after they've held up somebody, then you're great. But where are you when they're doing the robbing, huh? Where are you then? Where?
Well, if you'll just calm down here and tell us what happened, we might be able to do something about it.
Oh. Well, they come in just like always.
About what time was that?
Well, it must have been around 8. I was a little too busy to look at my watch.
Mm-hmm. You want to go ahead?
Well, there was 2 of them, man and a woman.
Yes, sir.
Man and a woman stood over there at the door. Woman walked right up here at the counter, right up, and stood there. First off, I thought she had a cold or something. Wasn't long that thought held on, though. No, sir, not long at all.
Yes, sir.
Turned out to be a mask. Handkerchief, right across here. Right here across the face. About that time, of course, I realized there was something was wrong, Anybody walks into a store with a mask on, they don't mean no good. Oh, none.
Yes, sir. Did you get a good look at the pair before they put the masks on?
No, sir, not at all. No. They had them kind of up over their mouths when they come in, kind of like they was going to cough or something. Then they took their hands away, and I could see that the handkerchief was tied right on. Tied.
Yes, sir. You want to go ahead?
Well, this woman come over to the counter and asked me for a bottle of Canadian whiskey. Just as calm as can be. I sparked right out. Now, mind, you see, all this time I thought she had a cold.
Yes, sir.
I walked over, you see, there. Yeah, that's where I keep the Canadian stuff, and got a bottle.
I see.
Got it right down, and I turned around, and there she was, just standing there with a mask on. Had it tied right around, tied.
Yes, sir. What happened then?
Well, I asked them what the big idea was. I thought that maybe they was playing a little joke, you see. They was, but it was on me. Woman told me to put the bottle in the paper bag and put the money in the bag, too. Told me to open the register and just put all the money right in the bag.
Did you see if they were armed?
No wonder you haven't caught them.
Sir?
You got a life-size picture of me giving them the money if they wasn't armed. You got that kind of idea?
No, sir. We just want to know if they had guns.
Well, of course they had guns.
Did you see them?
Well, naturally. Right out in the open. No. Wait a second. Come right down to it. I didn't actually see them. The fellow, he was at the door over there. He had his hand in his pocket. she had her hand in a purse, see? Like this.
Mm-hmm.
You see?
Mm-hmm.
Like this, kind of... Come right down to it, I didn't really see them, no. But I'm sure they was there, I'm sure.
Yes, sir. Well, what happened after the woman asked for the money?
Well, her and the fella just told me not to move for 5 minutes. Had me to keep real still. Said I wouldn't get hurt if I just took it easy. And they left the store.
Did they walk away from the place?
Oh, no, sir. They had a car parked right out in front. Right in front. Got into that and roared down the street. I counted to 100 by ones and then called you.
Did the uniformed officer get a description of the car?
Yes, I give it to him. Right off.
All right, Mr. Osborne, if you'd give us a description of the pair.
Well, the woman was about, maybe 5'3", around in there, weighing around 130.
Mm-hmm. How about the color of her hair?
Red, just flaming red. Had blue eyes, so I guess her hair really was that color.
What color were the eyes?
Flaming red. I told you that before.
No, not her eye. Her eyes.
Yes. Oh, her eyes. Oh, I'm all confused here. Well, her eyes were blue.
Yes, sir.
So that's how I knew that. Yes. Hair was bright red.
What was she wearing?
Oh, had on a kind of beret, green, kind of green coat, red purse, red shoes, low heel. The front was cut out.
Mm-hmm. How about the man? What did he look like?
Oh, he's a big one. He must have been around 6 feet. I couldn't tell too good because he was standing over there with the door. Oh, but he was a big one, I tell you. He weighed about 170, maybe more.
How about his coloring?
Dark hair, dark eyes. Of course, I couldn't see anything very good. Then he had that mask on.
What was he wearing?
He had a blue suit on, looked kind of like it was linen.
How about his shirt and tie?
White shirt, black tie. Shirt was a button-down collar. No hat.
Did either one of them have any marks or scars that might make it easier to identify them?
Not that I could see, no, sir.
Well, how about accents? Either of them have any kind of speech peculiarity?
No.
Exactly what did the woman say to you? Do you remember the word she used?
Well, first off, she asked for the whiskey. Said, give me a bottle of Canadian whiskey. Didn't mention any special brand.
Mm-hmm.
Then when I brought it back, she said, just put it in the paper bag and empty the register in there, too. That's what the woman said.
Did the man say anything at all?
Well, when they was leaving, he said, stay put, Pop. Stay there for 5 minutes. You won't get hurt. Those are his words, exact. I remember them.
Mm-hmm. All right, sir. We'd like you to come downtown and check some pictures for us, if you will.
Well, I guess it'll be all right. You guys should sure get on the ball, though. It's getting pretty bad.
Sir?
It seems a little silly you can't catch these people right out instead of rushing around locking the door after the horse has been stole. A little late then, seems to me.
Yes, sir. Well, they've been pretty lucky. They'll probably try this same thing again.
Yeah.
We'll try to beat it the next time. A search of the immediate area failed to turn up anything that might lead to the identity of the thieves. A broadcast had been gotten out to all cars in the city giving the description of the couple, the automobile they were driving, and the clothes they were wearing. The pair had been operating in the city for the past 3 weeks. In that time, they'd established a fairly definite method of operation. 2 days before they planned to work, they'd steal a car. Then, on the night that they started their operation, they'd pick one of the city's main arterials and start at one end of it. They'd hit 3 or 4 stores in the area in a period of half an hour. The stolen car would be parked on a side street, and the couple would make good their escape. All of the routine efforts had been made to identify them. Due to the fact that a woman was involved in the operation, the State Adult Authority for Women had been contacted for the names of recent parolees. But when these had been checked out, we netted nothing. Because of the circumstances of the M.O., we felt that the first break in the case would come through the woman. The stats office had made several runs, and the possibles had been checked out. Results, nothing. 5 minutes after we'd left the first victim, we got another call. The pair had hit again, further down on Alexandria Avenue. All right, let us through here, please. Let us through.
Please. You the cop?
Yes, sir, that's right.
I'm the fellow who was robbed. I'm him.
Slash, you want to see if you can try to clear the front of the place?
Right.
Okay. All right, sir, if you'd like to tell us what happened here.
Terrible. Most terrible thing that ever happened to me.
Yes, sir.
I got to have a little something to calm my nerves. Gotta.
Well, can I get you anything, sir?
I don't have to, son. I got all right here. A whole store full of it. Just a minute.
Yes, sir.
A little brandy, that's what I need. Mother's sure going to think I took the little nip just to have it. Going to have to explain the whole thing to her. Imagine me being robbed.
Yes, sir. Now, if you tell us what happened here.
Yeah. Say, excuse me, you like a little of this?
No, sir.
Yeah. Well, These two came in here not more than 5 minutes ago. Man and woman. Came right in and asked for a bottle of whiskey.
Mm-hmm. Do you recall what brand?
Didn't ask for no special brand. Just said they wanted Canada whiskey. Blend.
Mm-hmm. You'd be able to give us a description of them?
Well, the woman had red hair, and that's about the only thing I do remember about her, other than the way she talked.
How do you mean, sir?
Foul mouth. The way she swore at me. Just something fierce.
What did she say?
Oh, just swear words, you know. I guess I didn't get the bottle fast enough for him. She told me to hurry up. Only she didn't say it just like that.
Where was the man during this time?
Oh, he was over here at the cash register with a gun.
Was the woman there, too?
Oh, no. No, she stayed over by the door. Seemed to be the lookout or something. She didn't come much past there.
Mm-hmm.
Right there by the potato chip rack. That's about as far as she come.
Mm-hmm. And you said they used guns. Did you get a look at them?
Oh, yeah. Big ones. I guess they must have been that long, and the barrel must have been that big around.
Mm-hmm. What kind of a gun was it, would you know?
I don't think I know what you mean.
Or was it an automatic or a revolver?
And I'm sorry, officer, but I don't understand. All I know, it was the biggest gun I ever saw. Must have been that long, that big around.
Mm-hmm. Did it look like this one?
Oh, no. No, that's just a pea shooter compared to the one that fellow was waving around.
Mm-hmm. Did you see a car when they left?
Yes, I did. Right out in front it was. Parked in front of the sign. Hey, you see there where it says reserved for patrons?
Yes, sir.
Right there. That's where the car was. After the fellow told me to dump the cash into the paper bag with the bottle, the woman opened the door, and both of them ran out and jumped into the car. Roared off down the street. But I got a good look at it. Real good.
Mm-hmm. Then you can give us a description of it?
You bet I can. Dark, 1953 Ford sedan. 4-door. Had one of them sun things on the front. You know, like a shade.
Yes, sir.
Used to have them on the buggies when I was a young man. Guess if you wait long enough, they get back to everything.
Yes, sir. How much money did they get away with, sir?
Oh, guess it must have been around $225. Round in there someplace. Give a couple, take a couple.
Mm-hmm. Do you think you'd know either one of these people if you ever saw them again?
No. You just bet I would. Even with those masks on, I'd be able to pick them right out of a crowd. You just stand them up in front of me and I'll point them out. I'll never forget that gun. Biggest gun I ever saw. Must have been that long and that big around. That one you got there is a real pea shooter.
Mm-hmm.
How's it look, Joe?
No, it's the same couple. Description fits perfectly.
I checked around the people in the crowd, found one old guy who says he saw the pair come out of the store. Got a good description of the car.
Mm-hmm.
I already gave him one. I can tell you anything you want to know.
Yes, sir, we appreciate that, but we do want to talk to everybody who knows anything about the holdup.
All right. You go ahead and talk to the other fella. You go right ahead. Yeah, I got something he can't give you.
What's that, sir?
License number of the car they drove.
An immediate supplementary broadcast was gotten out to the cars in the area with special attention to the units covering Alexandria Avenue. The search for the pair of thieves went on, but as the hours passed and they failed to hit again, it became apparent that they had eluded us again. The next morning, the car was found abandoned on the east side of Los Angeles. It was a stolen vehicle, and after it had been checked with the crime lab for latent prints, we were no further toward apprehending the suspects. Conferences were held with the chief of detectives, Thad Brown, and it was decided to place an extensive stakeout on the liquor stores in the Hollywood area. From past performances, the pair seemed to work their operation in that general area more than the other parts of town. The stakeout was maintained for 3 days without results. On Tuesday night, July 29th, Sergeant Henry and I waited in the squad room for reports from the other officers out in the field. 1:15 a.m.
Well, looks like another night shot.
Yeah, still no action. Stores will be closing in about 45 minutes now.
Yeah. You get a cigarette? I'm out.
Yeah. I think there's a couple left in here. Yeah, just 2. Here, go ahead.
Well, I'll go down the hall and get a couple of packs
That's
later.
all right. Here.
Heard from Frank?
No, I talked to Fay night before last. She got a letter from him. Said he thought he'd be back about the end of the week.
Say how it's going?
No, he just read me a couple parts of the letter. I guess it's all straightened out. Suspect's coming back on his own.
Extraditions can sure be a pain. I had to go back to New Orleans on one last year. Had a miserable time. Guy gave us a lot of trouble.
Yeah, I remember. I get it. Now, let's go. They just hit again.
In the stakeout area?
No, out in Highland Park. They're way out on this one.
What do you mean?
Well, the victim decided to give him a little trouble.
Yeah?
The male suspect broke off the bottom of a whiskey bottle and worked the victim over.
Mm-hmm.
Almost killed him.
You are listening to Dragnet, the authentic story of your police force in action.
Chesterfield's for me. You hear it everywhere.
A brand new survey of campus cigarette dealers at 274 leading colleges and universities shows Chesterfield the largest seller. Nobody knows it better than America's #1 band leader, Ray Anthony, who plays college dates coast to coast. Here is Ray with his attractive wife, Dee.
In cigarettes, the young crowd really goes for Chesterfields. I've noticed that wherever we've played. And I guess it's one of the reasons Chesterfield is America's most popular two-way cigarette. Of course, Dee and I are Chesterfield smokers, too. We know they're best for us.
Chesterfield's for me. You hear it everywhere. The Chesterfield you smoke today is the best cigarette ever made. And best for you.
At 1:13 a.m., the pair of thieves had entered a small all-night grocery store in the Highland Park area. They'd gone through the usual part of their M.O., asking for the bottle of Canadian whiskey and then the money. However, when they asked the victim to turn over the money to them, he had told them to get out of the store. The male member of the team had grabbed the bottle, hit it against the counter, breaking off the bottom, and then struck the victim several times about the head and shoulders. When we'd gotten the call, the man had been removed to Georgia Street Receiving Hospital, where he was in a critical condition. An immediate search of the area had failed to turn up anything that might lead us to the apprehension of the man and woman. A citywide broadcast was gotten out on the pair, and arrangements were made for their description to be broadcast on the police television program. Newspapers carried the stories and joined with us in asking for full cooperation from the public. For the next 3 days, we received several calls with information on the suspects, but when all of these were checked and sifted, we were right back where we started. The stakeouts were maintained on the liquor stores, but the suspects failed to hit again. On Monday, August 4th, we got a call from the county hospital telling us that the latest victim was in condition to be interviewed. Slats Henry and I drove over to see him. He was unable to tell us anything more than the dozen victims before him had told us. 3:15 p.m. We went back to the office.
Want to check the book?
Yeah, I'll get it. Yeah, there's a message here that a Reese McKay called. He left a number.
Say what he wanted?
No, just wants us to call. This table, we got to put something under this leg. It sure wobbles, doesn't it?
Been that way for years.
Yeah. I'd like to speak to Mr. Reese McKay, please. My name's Friday, Los Angeles Police Department. No, Police Department. Yes, surely. It's the attorney's office. Yes, sir? Mm-hmm. This is Sergeant Friday. Yes, sir. Certainly. When was this? Mm-hmm. All right, sir. No, we'll be right over. Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Oh, might be something.
What'd he say?
Woman was in his office this afternoon.
Yeah?
Said something about being involved in a robbery. Sergeant Henry and I signed out of the office and drove over to the address the lawyer had given me on the phone. We waited in the reception room for a few minutes, and then his secretary ushered us into Mr. McKay's office.
Come in, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm Reese McKay.
Yes, sir. This is Sergeant Henry. My name's Friday.
Oh, yes, you're the gentleman I talked to on the phone.
That's right.
Well, sit down, and I'll try and tell you what happened.
All right, thank you very much.
You've got to realize my problem in this thing.
Yes, sir. What's that?
Well, if this isn't anything worthwhile, I certainly don't want to have a client embarrassed. You can understand that.
Yes, sir.
I suppose I just tell you what happened, and we can go on from there.
All right, that'll be fine.
A couple of days ago, I got a call from a young woman who said she wanted me to handle a divorce for her.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we set up an appointment for her this afternoon. She came in, and we went over the problem. I don't want to go into the detail of the divorce action. I don't think that'll have any bearing on the rest of it.
All right, sir.
Well, to get to the short of it, we were going over the necessary information. The door burst open, and this man came in.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to know what it was all about. My secretary was right behind him, seeing that he just pushed his way right through the reception room.
Well, who was he, do you know?
Well, he said he was the woman's husband.
That true?
Well, apparently, I told my secretary to wait outside, then I asked him what he wanted. He didn't pay any attention to me at first, said it wasn't any of my concern, told me to keep my nose out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And he and the woman had a big discussion. Seems that he didn't want her to divorce him, made all sorts of promises how things would be different if she came back to him.
Mm-hmm.
First, she seemed to go along with the idea. As you know, we like to effect a reconciliation wherever possible. So I told him to go ahead and talk it over.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I left them in the office and went out of the reception room, and for a while it seemed they were getting along all right. Then the shouting died down, and they seemed to have agreed. All of a sudden, it broke loose again. They started to scream at each other, and I went right back in the office, and just as I opened the door, I heard the man tell her that if she didn't come back, he'd cause her a lot of trouble.
Mm.
He said for her to remember that she was mixed up in the holdups, too, and these were the exact words. Don't forget, you're mixed up in those stick-ups as deep as me.
I see.
When they saw me, they both quieted down, and a couple of minutes later, they both left the office. The woman said she'd get in touch with me about the bill.
It's certainly something that should be looked into.
Yes, that's what I thought. That's the reason I called you.
Can you give us the name and address of the couple?
Yes, sir. I have it right here.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Pretty difficult to imagine that she'd be involved in anything like that. Pretty woman, beautiful hair.
Is that right?
Yes, flaming red.
We obtained the address the woman had given Reese McKay, and we checked her name through R&I. We found no criminal record on anyone answering her description. While Slats called Chief Brown and told him what had happened, I asked the record division to make a run on the husband. We found that he'd been arrested 3 years before for attempted armed robbery, but that he'd been released for lack of evidence. 5:40 p.m. Slats and I drove over to the woman's address. The name on the mailbox in the apartment lobby read Mr. and Mrs. George Winston. We rang the bell and we identified ourselves.
You want to come in?
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else here, ma'am?
You mean in the apartment?
Yes.
No, I'm alone.
Where's that door lead, ma'am?
Bedroom?
You mind if we take a look?
Maybe you better tell me what this is all about first, huh?
You better go ahead, Slam.
Yeah.
Suppose you're used to hearing that you've got a lot of nerve.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, that's true. What's this all about? Isn't there some law that says you've got to make a complaint or something?
Where's your husband?
That bum.
Where is he?
I don't know, and I don't care if I never see him again. Nothing but trouble did I ever get from him. Miserable man.
Mm-hmm. You haven't any idea where he is?
No. Don't think I'd tell you if I did until you let me know what this is all about.
What's your husband do for a living, ma'am?
You guys are so interested in him, why don't you ask him yourselves?
Place is clean, Joe.
Mm-hmm.
I told you that going in. What's this all about? Now, come on, tell me or get out.
We understand you and your husband had an argument this morning. Two of you mentioned something about a robbery.
Oh, I understand it all now. Now it's all real plain. Look, what George said was a joke. That's all just a joke. He didn't mean anything by it.
The way we got the story sounded pretty straight.
You got it a little mixed up.
Well, maybe you better come downtown and tell us all about it, huh?
What for?
Well, we've got some people down there we'd like you to meet.
I got enough friends.
Well, then let's put it down that these people would like to meet you. Do you want to get your coat?
I think there's supposed to be something like a charge, isn't there?
Yes, ma'am. That's the way you want it.
I do.
All right. Suspicion of robbery.
What makes you think you can make it stick?
Well, we wouldn't be taking you in if we didn't figure we had a case.
You'd save all of us a lot of trouble if you'd tell us where we can pick up your husband.
What's in it for me?
What do you got now?
Nothing.
Well, that's the best we can do.
What makes you think you can hold up this kind of a charge?
A dozen victims, for one thing. Slats, you want to check the closet, see if you can find the green coat and the red shoes and purse?
Yeah.
What happens if I've got a green coat?
Well, it makes us look pretty good, doesn't it?
A lot of girls got green coats.
Yeah, we're looking for one.
She's supposed to look like me?
Description we got matches exactly.
A lot of people in the world look like me. Same people who have green coats.
Mm-hmm.
Got them, Joe. Found them up on the shelf in the closet. Take a look. They match what we heard.
Yeah, would you like to try this coat on, Miss Winston? And then we can get going.
Okay, but you guys are sure going to find out that you're wrong.
Is that right?
You just bet, and it's going to cost the city a lot of money because I'm really going to make a big thing out of this.
Well, if we're wrong, we'll admit it.
Then you admit you could be making a mistake.
No, we don't.
I read in the papers where there was an old guy beat up in a robbery. Same ones you're after me for?
Might be, yeah.
How's he doing, the old guy?
Well, we're not sure yet.
He's going to live, though, isn't he?
I told you, Miss Winston, we're not sure.
You got a cigarette?
Yes, ma'am, here.
Here.
I want you to tell me something. Tell me true.
What's that?
You really think you can put me in those stores?
Yes, we do.
I can't make a deal, huh? I'll tell you things and have it go any easier?
No, ma'am. All we can do is see that it's marked down that way.
Best I can get?
That's the best.
I'll take it.
What?
I'll tell you about it. Tell you the whole thing.
All right, go ahead.
Well, you got the right people, me and George. I knew when he hit that old man we'd had it. Knew it right away. That's why we quit. I was afraid. If the guy died, you'd be able to get us for murder. I didn't like the robbery part, but I didn't want any part of a killing. I never did like the setup. Never. I used to tell George I didn't like it. That didn't make any difference to him. He wanted to be the big man. He used to sit here after hitting the places. George would get the morning papers and sit here and laugh at the cops because he had them running after themselves.
You know where he is?
Yeah. He's in a hotel down on West 7th, using the name Evanston. I'll give you the address.
All right, let's go.
Yeah. Oh, George. He's going to be real surprised when you walk in on him. Real surprised. Sure wish I could see the expression on his face when he finds out what happened. Sure like to see it.
Well, that makes you even, doesn't it?
He'll want to see yours.
The story you have just heard is true. The names were changed to protect the innocent.
On November 17th, trial was held in Department 98, Superior Court of the State of California, in and for the County of Los Angeles. In a moment, the results of that trial.
Now, here is our star, Jack Webb.
Thank you, George Fenneman. Friends, we've told you that Chesterfield is the best cigarette for you to smoke. Now, to me, Chesterfield's record with people who do smoke them regularly backs up that statement. Chesterfields are best because they're highest in quality, low in nicotine, because they smoke mild, and they're really satisfying. I wish you'd give them a try and see for yourself. America's most popular two-way cigarette. Regular or king-size Chesterfield. Best for me, best for you.
Geraldine Ruth Winston and George Roland Winston were tried and convicted of robbery in the first degree, 5 counts. They received sentence as prescribed by law. Robbery in the first degree is punishable by imprisonment for a period of not less than 5 years in the state penitentiary. You have just heard Dragnet, a series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.H. Parker, Los Angeles Police Department. Technical advisors, Captain Jack Donahoe, Sergeant Marty Wynn, Sergeant Vance Brasher. Heard tonight were Vic Perrin, Herb Ellis, Vic Rodman. Script by John Robinson. Music by Walter Schumann. Hal Gibney speaking.
Watch an entirely different Dragnet case history each week on your local NBC television station. Please check your newspapers for the day and time. Chesterfield has brought you Dragnet, transcribed from Los Angeles.
Filter tip smokers, this is it. L&M Filters. The one filter tip cigarette with plenty of good taste. Much more flavor, much less nicotine, and effective filtration. Only the L&M filter contains the miracle product Alpha Cellulose. Absolutely pure, non-mineral, harmless to health. Yes, this is it. As Barbara Stanwyck puts it, L&M filters are just what the doctor ordered. Buy L&M filters, the light and mild smoke.
Hear Rocky Fortune following John Cameron Swayze in the news on the NBC Radio Network.